quite as cool as you, cause he says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really. Yeah, he's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, cause...
One hit away. Oh! Thor! Hi, welcome to this video, and welcome to this prelude to the main video, the main attraction, looking back on 10 years of the channel RazorwireReviews. I felt like I had to introduce this because I've now decided I'm going to use what I've filmed. I'm filming this at the very end of everything, so this is like a kind of time travel thing, really, because I've already filmed this and I've done the video. It's finished, it's in the can. The only problem is the audio that I was recording didn't save. The laptop was recording it for over 3 hours because I took a few breaks and went to the toilet and just left it all running so nothing would go wrong. I've been having some issues lately with the laptop recording the audio. It was all running smoothly. I could see the waveform chugging along for those 3 hours. Finally got to the end of the video. I was literally saying thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one, and suddenly the waveform stopped, flatlined. And I ran over, stopped it, tried to save what was there, and it saved 14 seconds of those 3+ hours. So you're just going to hear the whole video like this, which, you know, I've loaded the footage on. It sounds alright, you can hear me, it's listenable, but there's the laughable fact it's going to play like some bad comedy routine, because there's a cute little intro I did where I'm like, okay, 1, 2, testing, to show you the process I go through when I start the video. I thought it would be interesting for this 10-year, you know, anniversary thing to start with something like that, putting the lights on and, like, you know, testing the microphone and then getting going and everything. And then later on I turned the gain down a little bit, you know, but obviously you won't hear any difference because the microphone is the recording is gone, it's in the ether. I've tried to recover it, but it's fucking vanished, right? And I mentioned how I'm using this blue, you know, Yeti microphone and how good it is, how long I've had it for, and at the end of the video you will just hear me say, oh, the audio recording's stopping, and that I can't really cut that out because it goes along with the flow of the ending of the video. So hopefully you don't mind. I'm sure you'll get used to it. It's not really bad or anything. It's just for me, I get so particular about the audio. But hey, you know, as Connie just said to me earlier, that's how you did it for years, and it was. I mean, even up to 2018, I didn't use a microphone really, so I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's just it's fucking heart-wrenching when you spend 3 hours making a video. And I considered filming it again in the morning, and maybe I could be more concise and not meander as much as I do in this video. And trust me, I meander, repeat myself a little bit, and there's probably a few bits and pieces here I could have mentioned that I didn't, but ultimately 10 years of making videos, over 2,500 videos, you're never going to wrap all that up and talk about everything and reference and name check every person you've spoken to and been friends with and all this kind of stuff, and people who you've enjoyed watching. I didn't really go into that very much in this video. One thing that popped into my head was Jolly Studio One. Just a shout out to him, because I felt like he's one of my favourite channels, and was back a few years ago when he was making regular videos. Just a random thing I thought I'd throw in there, but there's just so many things I could cover that I missed. So maybe I should refilm it, but you know, it's the 10-year anniversary today now. I'm in the early hours of the morning. I gotta get this thing up. It is what it is, and that's part of the whole YouTube experience. It ties into it. You know, sometimes you gotta make chicken salad out of chicken shit, as Stone Cold Steve Austin once said. And that's another thing I didn't mention, which isn't really, is it worth mentioning? I don't know, but the whole I'll leave that in for free thing that people take the piss out of me for, it's just one of those tics that I have acquired, and I believe I acquired it from Stone Cold Steve Austin. But sometimes you have a flub when you're doing a video and you realize it's not bad enough to stop the flow, so let's just throw in, I'll leave that in there for free, and they just keep rattling forward, and I don't need to edit it out or anything. But some flubs, you just know you're going to have to edit them out, and those are kind of the annoying ones. You have to go in and kind of trim all that shit out. Anyway, this video's long enough as it is. I apologise, but I hope you enjoy the next 2.5 hours of me just reflecting on the channel and everything, and hopefully the audio is okay. I thought it would sound a lot worse than it actually does, so I'm a bit more at peace now with it. And you know, sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. And in this case, I just don't feel like it would be the same if I just. And again, I don't want to sit here talking about myself again for another 2.5 fucking hours tomorrow morning. My back is stiff from sitting like this for 3 hours, and my voice is getting hoarse. So you're gonna get it the way that it was, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. So I'll leave this section here, and then you'll see the video as I intended it, and just keep in mind that I thought at the time that the audio was recording from the microphone. At least when I squeeze the chair like this, it won't be as sharp. There's one, you know, every cloud, you know, there's some positives, not many, but anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy. Thank you for watching. I feel like I'm wrapping up the video, and it literally hasn't even started yet, so enjoy. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Speaking normally, speaking like that, speaking like this. Okay. Let's do this. Let's begin this video. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I do a blog called RazorwireReviews. You can check that out at RazorwireReviews.wordpress.com. Write about Raw, WrestleManias, other shit. Hello, greetings, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I do a blog called RazorwireReviews. You can check that out at RazorwireReviews.wordpress.com. Write about Raw, WrestleManias, other shit. And that was the beginning of this channel 10 years ago. An awkward, mumbly kind of, I do a blog. Brilliant first impression to the YouTube world 10 years ago to this day, the 23rd of April 2011. And today, tonight, whenever you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, hopefully not children of all ages, because I'll be probably swearing like a sailor in this video, as I always tend to do. This is it. This is the look back video. This is not going to be for the weak at heart. Scores are going to be settled. I am out for blood. I'm really looking to just dig up old wounds and just dive into them and tear apart the flesh. I have shit to get off my chest. I'm naming names. Oh yeah, I've waited 10 years for this. I really don't have scores to settle. I don't have names to shame. There have been stories, and there have been significant little moments of drama throughout my YouTube career, and we won't be diving into a whole lot of that throughout this video, which is going to be a long one. And I'm going to reflect on my channel, how it started. And I've done one of these videos before, and it was actually 8 years ago in 2013, which, you know, it looks like baby Luke with the ponytail. And I'm going to talk about that, reflecting on my life and where my life was throughout all the past 10 years of this channel, the videos that I've made. By nature of what this thing is, I'm going to be talking a lot about myself. It's just, it is what it is, you know. And if some people are interested in that, that's awesome. I hope you enjoy. If you're not, you can just wait for the next video, or just, you know, watch something else that you're interested in. That's usually the way it goes. So we're going to settle in, get a drink. I'm going to try and do this in one take, even with mistakes. So there'll be plenty of stuff left in for free, I think. But I'd like to, because this is probably going to be a really long video, I'd really love to not have to go through the whole 90 minutes again. I'm assuming it's going to be about an hour and a half. That's my prediction. I'd like to not have to go through all that and edit out all the little flubs and everything. So we're just going to agree, you know, between us, me and the viewer here, that there's going to be mistakes and little flubs and things like that. It's not going to be a perfectly, you know, flowing monologue for the next hour and a half. So, considering my ongoing eternal teeth issues, we will be sticking to a can of 7-Up free, as much as I would love to have a nice ice cold glass of Fireball Coke. We'll settle for the 7-Up and a hardcore chaser of Highland Spring mineral water. Alright, yeah, we're leaving this all in, so let's get into it. I haven't fully prepared, so there's probably things I'm gonna miss, and you know, if I was to really sit here and do a full breakdown of my, you know, the whole history of my channel, you know, it would just by virtue of the fact that I've made so many videos and there's so much to tell, I'd be here for 10 hours, and I know that a select few of you would say, do it, release the 10-hour cut, but you know, as crazy as I can be with running times, I think I'd like to keep this around 90 minutes if possible. Hey, it might be an hour, I don't know, but again, it is me. Let's be a bit realistic. You know, it might probably go a little bit over that, but we'll see. So I have done one of these videos before, but there's always new viewers to the channel. I have 8,000 subscribers now. That milestone came and went, and I never really even noticed it happening, so thank you very much for that, first and foremost. You know, I remember when, you know, back in the early days of the channel, you know, I had like 10 subscribers, and it's like, ooh, there's 10 people who I shouldn't be drinking the 7-Up because it's going to give me burps. I thought, ooh, there's 10 people subscribing. That's like kind of cool. The 10 people thought, yeah, I want to see more of that. And I'm going to try and be as transparent as possible in this video as well, and be a bit honest. You know, I think when I started my channel, I thought I was a lot better than I really was. I think that when starting out a YouTube channel, there's usually kind of, I think, 3 ways to approach it. 3 ways that people approach, like, the idea of gearing themselves up to make a YouTube channel and to start putting out videos with themselves in front of the camera. Obviously there are various types of YouTube channels, but ones where the person making the video is the presenter of a video like this. I think there's 3, I'm thinking there's probably about 3 ways in which you approach it. Number 1, you're really nervous, you've never done something in front of a camera before, and you don't know if you're going to be any good, and you ultimately just throw it out there and you just see what happens. That's kind of like the humble kind of, you know, humble beginnings. 2, you start off with a huge amount of confidence because you've done things on camera before, and you feel like you have a lot of knowledge of the thing that you want to talk about, and you feel like, yeah, I'm gonna nail this, and you usually end up being overconfident and not as great as you think you are. That's me. The third one is someone who just comes in and just very naturally just fits into the mold, and just kind of from the get-go, you know, slowly gets better at what they do, but they kind of have a knack for it right at the beginning. I'd say a good example of that would be Daisuke Beppu, who started his channel and immediately had a very good kind of presentation style, and just continued to hone that to almost near perfection now, I think, and to see his channel grow the way it has been fantastic. But for me, I came in having done a lot of backyard wrestling, and going around the country to events and doing promos where I'm like talking and doing the kind of the pro wrestling interview style stuff, and so I felt like, you know, my confidence had really grown in 2009, which was the last full year that I wrestled, and I felt like doing YouTube videos would be right up my street. And when I first started posting videos, I was genuinely thinking, why aren't more people, you know, because I was looking at the community that I was in, and I felt like I was a lot better than some of the other people. And I think that the answer there was that those people had more personality than I did, and I just didn't really have one. And I thought that I did by virtue of the fact that I was fairly confident in front of a camera, which is a weird thing unto itself. And still to this day, I think that this is all a performance. You know, me in front of a camera talking to you as I am right now is not really me. It is, but it isn't. You know, it's me with all the filters gone. You know, almost like I'm drunk. You know, where it's like, yeah, it's just me and a camera. There's no real stress here. There's no worry. I don't feel eyes on me or anything. And I can watch my videos back, and I do get sick of my own voice sometimes when I'm editing a lot of my own videos, but I'm fine with that, you know. But if you sit me down in a room with anyone, you know, except maybe Connie, but even then, if you were to sit me down in a room with anyone and put one of my videos on the TV where I'm just sat in front of a camera talking, I'd want to just curl up and die, you know. It's just one of those weird things where it's a whole different thing when someone else is watching, but yeah, I don't know, I just have to separate myself from that sometimes and just throw the video out there. And I get comments of people who say that they like my videos, so it seems like a good reason to continue doing it. And I like doing it. It's a cathartic thing to sit down and talk about something you really love, talk about something that, you know, you didn't really like in the realm of this thing that you're really passionate about, like a really bad wrestling match on a wrestling show, a really bad movie that you felt could have been great. And there's all sorts of things you can talk about, and it's just a nice kind of, also a visual record. And I think for me, what I love about YouTube, and mainly now that I'm kind of looking back on the past 10 years of my videos, is that it's kind of the preservation of just moments in time. I'm less interested in, oh, what did I think of that film 7 years ago? More interested in, how did I talk about that film 7 years ago? How did I sound 7 years ago? How did I look? You know, I was flicking through all the old Epic Film Challenge videos, and there's a review for Ace Ventura. I have no memory of making that video whatsoever because I make so many of these things, and it was nearly 10 years ago. And you know, we're starting the video, and Connie's playing a video game in the background. It's like, oh, I remember when she was playing that game. And then she's saying these things and kind of shouting this, and the Lily is like off camera, kind of annoying me and biting my leg, and I have no memory of these things. It's like a wonderful discovery of like, oh, this little kind of video diary thing, even though it's kind of technically a movie review. You know, these little moments get captured and you can look back on them, and I like looking back, and I think that comes from my grandfather, who is hugely interested in like family tree history and things like that, and filming home movies for the family, and he had like all these tapes, and I could see my mum and, you know, my dad when they, well no, it's not my dad, because my dad didn't have many home movies when he was young. I could see my mum when she was a kid. I could see my dad when he was a bit younger. I could see me when I was a baby, you know, and see my first steps and all this stuff, because my granddad had a camera, and then I kind of took that on. I got my own camera when I was 11 years old, and I've made a video on my channel called Is the Red Light Still On? 15 Years of No Stairway Productions, which is the name of my production company. You know, it's the banner in which I release my kind of films again. And the more kind of dedicated projects where I put a lot of time into the editing, I put it under the banner of No Stairway Productions, which initially started in 1999 as Ryan Enterprises. And then I changed it in the early 2010s, just before I started my YouTube channel. So I've always been making videos since I was 11 years old. That's when I first made my first video, my first film, called Wild Wild Wales. You know, a little story and everything. Made it with my cousins over the summer, and I'm still like really proud of that film, because I came up with everything, like the dialogue, the shots, you know, the movie, the story, and then I edited it all myself with no help from any adult at 11 years old, with 2 VCR players, and you know, recording the music, like all that stuff. And I loved doing it, and it was a huge passion of mine, but I didn't have many friends when I was growing up. Very criminally shy young boy was Luke, and so I never really, I mean, yeah, I did, I had friends, and we made films and stuff, but I wasn't really popular, and I could be very shy, and I get picked on and stuff, and you know, going to high school, it really changed for me, and I didn't really settle well into high school in terms of making a lot of friends. I did in the beginning, and it was weird to me. I'm just going way off topic of my channel, but I remember starting high school, and it was really weird because like girls were looking at me, you know, and talking to me and stuff, because I just arrived, and I came in like 3 months after the school year had started because of this whole other thing, and so it was kind of like the exciting thing where someone new came to the year 3 months into the, I think it was in January maybe that I came in of the following year, And I was like, wow, like people are like paying attention to me and being nice to me and stuff. And then I realized that they didn't really know who I was, and they didn't really see that I was a very quiet person or shy person yet. And once they kind of saw that I was someone who was really shy and kind of an introvert, they just then shut down. And then I blended into the furniture, like everyone else. And so it was like a weird thing, like, maybe I could just pretend to be, like fake it till you make it and be more outgoing, and people would like me, and I could kind of have a girlfriend or have more popular friends. But it never really worked out that way for me, and it was wrestling that kind of made me come out of myself even more. And I'm still a quiet person now, not really shy. I don't really feel that kind of self-consciousness very much anymore. I don't really care about that kind of thing. I'm fine with silence, and I'm more than happy to talk to people, but I'm not the kind of person who can I can't do small talk very well. I can do it up to a point, but there's a certain thing where it's just like, well, let's just be a bit more, if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to say, yeah, not too great today. And people don't know how to react to that. It's like, well, if you're asking me, let's have a back and forth about it. But this is one of those things. Anyway, I'm going way off track, way too early on this. But so that was my beginnings of starting to make videos and stuff, and then I did the wrestling thing, and that was a huge part of my young adulthood, was going around the country, going to London, going to Newcastle, Manchester, wrestling, just for the pure love of it. And that's a whole other story that I know a lot of people really couldn't care less about, but that was something where I was, again, filming the matches, making videos of the matches. I made documentaries about certain trips. I was just marveling to a friend of mine today, like, how great was it that I made some of those documentaries that we can look back on now, all these great memories and laughs that we had, and it's all captured on video. So that's another thing that I love, it's just recording things. It's just a cool thing. And I know some people don't like looking back, but I kind of, and it's a weird, again, I'm going way too way too deep here. But I think one of my problems is I look back too much, and I'm always thinking about what's coming next, and I really need to remind myself of the now. And I don't think the now is very important currently, because I'm just sat here making this video that really means nothing, but in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, so that's just one thing, and I am actually going to turn down the microphone just a tad, because it seems to be peaking just a little bit, so that should be a little bit better, hopefully. Anyway, so wrestling. So I was always filming stuff. From the age of 11, there was always some video getting made. And then 2010 hit, and I just met Connie at the end of 2009, and it became really serious, and we fell in love very quickly. And it's like, okay, wrestling's done for me now. I've been messing up my body for far too long, doing stupid stuff. So it's time to nip a bud in that and just move on with my life, and look to the future with Connie. And that's exactly what I did. I did one more match at the beginning of 2010. And the last match I had before that, just before I met Connie, was with in front of a paying audience in Newcastle, was against the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and I just think that's really funny. But anyway, so I moved away from that. I would have loved to have continued wrestling, but again, that's a whole other story. And me and Connie did the long distance thing for about a year and a half, and then she moved to Wales to live with me in 2011. And a couple of months before that, actually no, it starts in 2010 when I first visited Connie in Norway. Now, actually no, it goes even further back. Okay, let's just talk about the YouTube thing. So, and I've mentioned this because I watched my YouTube story video from 2013, and I'm kind of wary of covering the same stories, but you're not going to go watch that anyway. So the kind of genesis of me and YouTube was I started a YouTube channel in 2006 to post my wrestling videos. I also made this Pink Floyd kind of tribute video that got like 500,000 views before it got taken down by the copyright police. But I had a channel, and I would watch YouTube videos. I liked watching certain music videos, and there was this woman who I watched, and she did these vlogs about her depression and things, and that was fascinating to me. That was my first experience with watching a channel for someone who was making the videos. It wasn't just like a funny cat video or a wrestling clip. It was, here's someone who's making a video for their YouTube channel. It's a personally tailored video experience. And I kind of got attached to watching her videos. I was looking to see if I could remember her name, but seems to have disappeared. But it was, I suffered with depression and stuff, and so I was kind of finding that very interesting to watch, and I don't think I commented or anything like that. And as that continued into 2009, I'd post my wrestling videos, and I love the music of Alanis Morissette, and I also really enjoyed YouTube for cover videos, watching people cover certain songs that I liked. It was just a really cool thing to do. For me, I really enjoyed seeing how people interpreted the songs differently, and if it was really exciting when you found somebody who did a really cool version of a song that's really good. And I was looking for versions of this song called "That I Would Be Good" by Alanis Morissette, and I found this one by a girl called Connie, and I thought it was a really nice version. You know, it didn't blow me away. I was like, holy shit! But it was like that was a really damn good version. So I sent her a private message, and I did that a lot back then, and I still endeavor and it's usually through Instagram now, where I'll see a post or something that's particularly like that's worth commenting on. So I sent, it depends, because I mean there's a way of doing it in public comments, but if it's something where I want to be a bit more forthcoming, or just in terms of explaining why that particular video or post meant something to me and I got something out of it, and I don't want to kind of talk about that in a public, forum, I'll send a private message. So for Connie, it was just, hey, that was a really cool, really cool. I think she said that, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I think it was something along the lines of, you did the song justice. And she replied saying, hey, thanks, with like a smiley face. She seemed very friendly. I was like, do you want to chat on MSN? Because I just liked chatting to new people. I did that a lot back then during the wrestling days, because new wrestlers would always join the group, and then there'd be other people who were the friends of theirs, and you're always adding people on MSN, always chatting and seeing if you got on with people and stuff. And me and Connie added each other on MSN, the messenger service, and we just have never stopped talking since then. It was just one of those crazy things, and that came from YouTube. This life that I've had for the past 11 years now all comes from YouTube. I don't know where I would be. I can't imagine a life without Connie. It just seems like a life not worth living. It seems hugely and entirely strange to me. But regardless, so that was kind of the early points of YouTube for me and how that affected my life. And then not doing the wrestling, not having that creative kind of thing in my life. There was a creative void that was left from wrestling. And I was in Norway visiting Connie, and she was going work, and I'd be sat in her apartment all day, and I'd be watching YouTube videos. I watched Hellfire commentaries do playthroughs of games like the old Sonic games and Rise Star. And then I'd also watch WWE DVD reviews, and I didn't remember this at all until I watched my YouTube story video, but I was looking forward to the DVD Shawn Michaels My Life, My Story, I think, and it was this DVD that was coming out, I think. No, it wasn't, it was another one. That was the first one they made. There was a 2010 Shawn Michaels DVD, I forget what it was called now, but it was like he was going to do some little sit-down interviews, to kind of set up some of his matches in a 3-disc collection. And I was looking for information on it, and I went to this website called WWE DVD News, I think it was, and they had this Hall of Fame section with YouTubers who had big wrestling collections. I had no concept of people showing off their collections of anything on YouTube, and that's why I found some people in the YWC, and most prominently Gemini 686, I think it was. He's now Gemini something else. I looked him up as well, and he's still going, which is crazy, but I really enjoyed just seeing a guy with this huge wrestling collection. I started watching all of these YouTube videos while I was at Connie's, and I thought, hey, I like wrestling. I love wrestling. It's been my life for the past 10 years, solidly. And I have some DVDs. Let's get into this WWE DVD collecting and making videos about it. So I started my channel called RazorwireReviews, and the reason behind that name, I'll try and be very, very brief in summing this up as quickly as I can. My wrestling name was Sand Dog, and the Sand Dog thing came from a reference to something that if anyone knows it, I'd be very impressed. In fact, I won't give it away. It's a reference to Star Wars, I'll say that much. But that was just a stupid name I came up with one week in 2004, and it stuck forever. The last time I wrestled as Sand Dog was in 2015 in my final match, and so that was, there's 11 years going by that name, and people just still call me that through the wrestling community, and I don't like that. It's a weird name. It's such a strange name, but it stuck. Nicknames sometimes stick, and the wrestling name for me, Sand Dog, stuck. But at one point, people were criticizing me for trying to emulate too much this UK backyard wrestling legend called Voodoo. And his real last name was Barnes, and people called him Barnesy. And a couple of times he wrestled as Barbed Wire Barnes. And so just to poke fun at the people who were criticizing me for copying him, which I didn't agree with, I got a similar hockey jersey to the one he wore. I put that on, and I called myself Razor Wire Ryan, because my last name is Ryan. And that's a name that, along with RazorwireReviews, doesn't really flow off the tongue very well in terms of the way they both start with the letter R. Especially if you watch, anytime Daisuke Beppu talks about me on his channel, you can tell how carefully he kind of considers his words. Razor Wire Reviews. Like, he has to have the pause because it's a difficult thing to say. RazorWire Reviews, RazorWire Orion. It kind of, I don't know, it's not a nice name, I don't think. It doesn't really flow very well, but I used it for like 2 wrestling matches. And then, you know, you go onto forums and you sign up to certain things. You always have like a handle, and it changes. Mine used to be Air Ryan, as it, like the Ryanair thing and stuff. And like I'd have a picture of me doing like a huge flying elbow drop or something. But then it changed. I thought I'd use the RazorWire Ryan thing, and that stuck. And then when it came time to actually start writing wrestling reviews, which I started to get into, and I started doing writing about wrestling, reviews of wrestling shows and stuff, and I actually got hired by a website, unpaid, which I wouldn't do now, but to write some articles and columns and stuff. And so I set up a WordPress called RazorwireReviews. I thought we'll use that and just put reviews on the end of it. Bit of alliteration there in the title, and it kind of gives the impression that this review is going to be razor sharp, you know. And it never really was, but that was just what it was. And then I thought the YouTube channel could be a sister site to the blog, which didn't really last all that long as it happens. But the YouTube thing, I really enjoyed. I like doing it in a video form, you know, and just doing it free-flowing. I never really wrote down what I was going to say or anything, and it shows. You know, going back to some of those early videos, woof. You know, it's hard to watch at times, and there's certain videos where, like at the beginning, I was filming on like a really poor quality. Well, it wasn't poor quality. Actually, it was a really good quality. But the way that I would render the video is really low in terms of the bit rate because I needed space. I was working on a very small old laptop. You know, the videos didn't look very good, but they were filmed on this like mini DV cassette tape Sony camcorder, which was an incredible camera. I love that thing. Still have it somewhere, and it still works. But I would film it and then use my old laptop to kind of put the what was it called? I forget the actual connection, but it's like a lead that goes into the camera, and then that goes into a card which slots into certain old laptops. So the card thing, you transfer the footage on. I could only do it 3 minutes at a time because the laptop was so small in memory. And then I would take those clips onto an old USB, transfer them 3 minute by 3 minute to the other laptop, stitch them together, then render them, then upload them. It was a real pain in the ass. And by the time I moved to making HD videos in 2011, I bought a Flip 720p HD camcorder. And the Flip I thought was amazing. Like I said, now widescreen, it's in high definition. Looking back on those videos, it really doesn't look that good, and I prefer the more solid kind of I wouldn't say texture, but there's a much more solid feeling to the old Sony camcorder footage than there is the HD Flip. It's just a bit, I don't know, it just feels there's something about it that isn't quite pleasing on the eye, but I would find it great to just turn the camera on, film a video, turn it off, take the file and just upload it straight away. So there's so many videos where I'm just like fumbling with the camera as I'm starting the video, and I'll start with you know, and it's just like, wow, I really didn't care about presenting and being professional. Not that you need to be professional on a YouTube channel, but you know, at least having some semblance of, I don't know, formality, or you know. And you know, I look at the video, I talk completely differently. You know, I feel like my vocabulary has expanded, but perhaps, I don't know, you get influenced by the people you watch too. I think watching a lot of Daisuke's videos has expanded my vocabulary, or enlarged my kind of subconscious want to use bigger words, perhaps, and maybe that's like a bad thing. I don't know. Certainly, I can imagine, you know, because sometimes my dad will say to me, like, again, I'm going way off on a tangent, but I showed my dad my book that I'd written, and he was really looking forward to reading it, and eventually he just couldn't get through it because he's like, God, you use some big words, don't you? And I'm just like, I don't know, do I? You know. But you look back and it's just like, it almost feels like a completely different person. And when I first started my channel, I was 22, and I felt like I was as adult as I was going to be, even though I still lived with my mum. I had no shame about that, I still don't, but you know, I was still a kid. And maybe when I'm 42, I'll look back at me now at 32 and think, God, he was such a kid. You know, God, he didn't know anything. But I think it's so different when you're in your early 20s, I think. I think by your early 20s, you're like, wow, I'm in my 20s now, like I'm a proper adult, you know. I mean, there's always the element of you don't feel like you're grown up enough as everyone else around you. I think that's kind of, there's a great line in a film I love called Liberal Arts, where the Richard Jenkins character says that something along the lines of, paraphrasing here, no one ever feels like an adult. It's the world's dirty secret. You know, you never really feel grown up, and it's everyone's kind of faking it. You know, I think there's some truth to that. But I certainly felt like at that time I was as grown up as I was going to be, and I'm in my 20s now. And you know, maybe there's an element of me thinking now I'm in my 30s now, but I still feel fairly young. You know, and yeah, I guess you're only as young as you feel. Notwithstanding, you know, maybe medical issues and maybe you can't move around. That's another thing, is the wrestling makes me kind of like stiff, and I'll get backaches, and I'm feeling like a 50-year-old, you know. So without the physical impediments, is that the right term? And that's another thing. I'll use words and then suddenly think, shit, am I like showing myself up to be, you know, using words that I don't know the meaning to? That happens a lot actually. Well, I'll use a word and I'm not entirely sure. Part of me thinks, honestly, and this sorry, this video's going in this direction. Part of me thinks it's all the blows to the head that I took. Not that I took many, I was very careful. I'm thinking some of the brain cells that I lost during wrestling, and maybe I'm forgetting things, I don't know, and not remembering the right terms. I'll film a video and I'll just suddenly get stuck on something really simple. I'll have to Google it and go, oh, of course, it's that. How did I not know that, you know? Maybe that's just adult life, I really don't know. Everyone's brain's different, I suppose, and there's so many ways you can explain it, and you can probably make yourself sick worrying about it if you think about it too hard, so I'm not going to. Right, so, we haven't even got to YouTube really in full yet. Holy shit, right. So, April 23rd, 2011, I started my YouTube channel. And I'm going to have to move my chair a little bit because my back is aching, and again, that's showing you the effects of all the wrestling and stuff. So, I started the channel doing some WWE DVD videos, and I was getting into the YWC, and there was a lot of people who were kind of sniping at each other, and there was like a lot of drama. There was a guy called Sarcastic Venom at the time, who was this like little kid at the time, and he was mouthing off against people. There was Wrestling Jesus, who I found hilarious at the time. Sean Blackford in the UK, Stevie Breach, Gemini in America, and freaking Yaya was one of them, Assault and Battery. All these different guys, the HBK Rebel, Robbie, that was his name I think back then. And you had the UK group, the American group, and it felt like the American group kind of looked down on the UK guys a little bit. And I was kind of in the middle. I wanted to kind of get involved, and I would make videos and stuff and talk about them, and they didn't really respond to me all that well. And then there was some drama I had with Sean Blackford, and I honestly don't remember this. I found a video that I'd long since deleted, at his request actually, where I think the video was called Why Sean Blackford is Two-Faced. And I love the clip that I've used in kind of look-back videos over the years, where it's just me saying, my first thought on Sean Blackford, bit of a twat. I did this like 15-minute video. It must have been a blistering promo on him or something. I haven't watched it yet. Almost afraid to about what the hell I must have said, but you know, my first impression of him was that I wasn't that big of a fan of the guy, and it's funny because he's one of the people who I still talk to maybe every like 6 months or something. I'll have a chat with him, and he's just a cool guy, I think. Don't know him too well, but it's just one of those funny things where it started out so tumultuously, and you know, I saw these guys who had this kind of clique, this group who loved wrestling, and it was a different thing now. It wasn't actual wrestlers, because my whole social life was with wrestlers, backyard wrestlers, and so we would go to shows, we'd wrestle, and we had that bond, and that was gone, and I needed something to replace that, and the YWC never really filled that gap for me either. The creative void was filled with making the channel and doing videos and stuff, but I didn't feel that the social void was filled. And I still saw the wrestling guys, just not nearly enough, and so life was moving in a different direction. I also was with Connie and stuff, and so maybe I didn't really need that friend group as much, but I remember feeling a little bit disappointed that I couldn't ingratiate myself into the UK YWC community. But then I started to look at it and then I think, you know what, I don't think I like this very much, because a lot of it revolved around the egos of the channels and the guys who really thought a lot of themselves, and a lot of the clickbait bullshit that went on with Stevie Breach's channel, and you know, it felt a bit grimy after a while, and there was a lot of like, you know, well, I'm better than you because I have a bigger collection. They wouldn't say that, but it really boiled down to like, you know, I've spent more money than you, so, you know, I'm up here, and it felt really weird. And you know, I gradually transitioned out of making videos about wrestling, but I also at the very beginning was making other types of videos. I did like road diary videos, like vlogs and stuff, and I enjoyed doing those. And the first big one I did was the Epic Journey. I went up to Glasgow to see Rush, and then down to London to see Roger Waters do The Wall. And I made like a 4 or 5 part series about that, including the trip, and took my flip camera and stuff. I loved doing that, and it was nothing to do with wrestling, and there wasn't many views on that or anything, but it was something I really enjoyed doing, and again, filling that creative void of just making something in video form. And I met some other people who I really liked a lot. There was Saucy90. He was a really cool guy. I Skyped with him a few times, I think it was, or the equivalent of Skype, and he was a really nice guy. We never really met up or anything. We were planning on it at one of the Raw London shows, but it never came to pass, and I think that he would have been a good friend if we'd met up. And it's funny now because in later years I've seen through Facebook that he knows one of my closest wrestling friends, or one of the guys that I really loved from my wrestling days, and they happen to work with each other, or they've worked with each other through the companies that they work for that has nothing to do with wrestling, so it's one of those small world kind of things. He doesn't make videos anymore. And then the one guy I have to mention, a name check, one of the most important names in terms of YouTube friends for me is Chris over at CM42 TV. And I think he had a different channel when I first met him, or he had a couple of channels, but he's one of those guys who's been going strong and has continually made content and has changed and morphed his channel like I have into different directions, and he's one of my best YouTube friends for sure. And he's not someone I'd say I'm a close friend of. We talk maybe every few weeks or every few months, we'll kind of catch up and stuff, but he's just generally such a nice guy. I love Chris. He's just a really cool guy to talk to. I love his podcasts. I really enjoy his videos, and he's always just been a really good guy, and I'd say a good friend, but probably someone who could be an even better friend. I kind of feel like if we lived closer, it would be something where we would probably meet up a lot and watch films together and watch wrestling and hang out and stuff. It's just one of those things where the distance kind of, nips a bud in that. But actually last year was the first time we ever had a real-time conversation, I think, through Zoom. So that was really cool to finally do that after all those years. But he's someone who I definitely like to meet still. And there are many stories of me meeting YouTubers, which I'll get into at some point in this video, whenever I kind of get to those stories, and I'm feeling a little bit stressed out now that my back is aching a little bit already, and there's so much more to talk about. But that was kind of the early days of my channel in 2011, and the thing that really turned it into something else was the Epic Film Challenge. I was in work one day and I just thought, do you know what? I really want to watch more films. And I go through these phases, especially with wrestling. With wrestling, I get all into it, and then it just slips away from me. And I've always been that way, even when I was a huge fan. Well, maybe not in like 99, 2000, where I was so fully obsessed with it, but there's been phases. And obviously when I was a wrestler and going around the country doing it, I was very, very much into it. But as a viewer, you go through phases. And when I started my channel in 2011, April 23rd, I was big into wrestling. Like, WrestleMania must have just happened, so it was like big time into it. And then I just started growing out of the phase a little bit. I mean, it stuck around for a year or so, I think, but I was like, I want to get back into movies. That was like my first real love, was films. Getting my first camera at 11 and making my own movies. And so I thought, what if I challenged myself to watch one film every day for a year, just to push myself to watch more movies? And me and Connie, when we got together, we always enjoyed watching films together. So Connie was like, well, what film should we start with? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you want me to do it with you too, right? And I almost felt bad, like, well, no, I didn't, but now that I think about it, that would be amazing if you want to do it. And she's like, yeah, of course. Now, she didn't end up joining me for the whole thing because, as you go through a full year, there are just, people need breaks and stuff. But I watched 365 films for that year, from July 2011 to July 2012. And so we did the Epic Film Challenge, and it was just this fun thing. They weren't really reviews. They were just like, we watched the film, here's what we thought about it. Very loose, very casual. The videos are very random at times. And you look back on, even like, looking back on some of these things, and I'm just like, I can't believe I said that. And I'll say this right here in the video. And I look back on this clip and I thought, fuck, I should just delete that or unlist it in case someone sees it. But I'm not afraid of it. It makes me cringe. But there is a certain term that was used all the time when I was a teenager, and into my early 20s, clearly, and it was just one of those, like, you think, how did that slip under how did that happen? And the term is gay, right? And I have absolutely no problem with gay people whatsoever. And there's people close to me who have had different opinions on that, and that is something I struggle with. But for me, absolutely no problem with it. I fully support all of that stuff. I think you love who you love. Who really gives a shit? I just think that as long as you love someone, it really doesn't fucking matter. But the term gay would get thrown around when you're a teenager in high school, and then again with the wrestling guys as something like, oh, that's lame. you know, like, oh, gay, you know. And I just look back and think, that's horrible. Like, we didn't mean it in that terms. We didn't even think about it in that way, but it just became such a part of the slang. So there are some videos where I'll say, like, you know, if you don't like this film, then you, my friend, are gay. And I'm like, oh my God, I said that? At 22? What the fuck was I thinking? You know, think, McFly, think. Like, holy shit. So, you know, I look back at the Epic Film Challenge, it's like, wow, I did that, like 365 videos in a year. That's commitment, you know. And we would miss a few films here and there, and we'd watch 4 on the weekend to make up for it. So it wasn't like the videos were posted every single day, but we made it by the end of that July 2012 period. But there's some questionable stuff in there, you know, and it's just a shame that, you know, yeah, it's just one of those things you look back and you think, holy shit. And that's maybe a bad thing about recording so much, is because you look back at some of the shit you said when you were younger. And we're in this age now where if you're popular, if you're in the limelight and stuff, they will, you know, people, if someone doesn't like you, they will go in, they will find those clips, they will find those tweets, and maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that, you know, but again, I'm no one, you know, I have a small channel of 8,000 subscribers, it is what it is, and again, I own it, you know, it's people make mistakes and people say fucked up stuff, and there's certainly worse, as I said, when I was in high school, because you know, it's peer pressure to kind of, you know, to joke along with the same kind of things, but then there's that thing with the gay thing, that I don't know how easily that would roll off the tongue without you even thinking about it, you know. And you know, and I'm sure there's people out there think, well, you're just overthinking it, and there's a duality that I think people are either on one side or the other, and I think the right place to be is kind of in the middle somewhere. Not to the point where you're on the fence and you're not committing either way, but I think that you shouldn't be like, wow, you said that, you should never be allowed to work again, or you know, oh, you know, you said that. But it doesn't matter anyway, and you're all snowflakes. I think that, you know, there's this middle ground. You know, middle ground's the best place to be with something like that. Anyway, so some of those early videos, you go, holy shit, I can't believe I'd said that stuff. But it was really fun to do that with Connie, and it was very relaxed. I mean, one of the videos I was in bed, I'd just woken up and I did the review in a Scottish accent for some reason. It was just fun, you know, it was fun. And then as the kind of channel evolved, I did my last backyard wrestling match for 4 years, and so I fully moved on from wrestling. And then I started watching videos of people doing film DVD collecting, like Cool Duda. I never got into Wet Movie 1. I was aware of him, but the name just put me off. Like, Wet Movie. Ugh. I don't know, it just never appealed to me. I later watched some of his videos and, you know, they are what they are. And Cool Duda, I enjoyed his videos up to a point. Well, I say up to a point. After a few years I kind of grew disinterested in them, but I really enjoyed them at the time in 2011, and then I saw channels like Robbie Webster, Ryan Chataway, and then through them other people like Shane Jensen, who just did vlogs and did Friday night rituals watching Star Trek and stuff and music videos from the 80s, and so I'm now broadening my horizons of the people that I watch, and to me finding more common ground with people. You know, because I loved wrestling, but I wasn't as passionate as far as being a fan. I loved doing wrestling as well, and that was kind of a big part of it for me that was now missing from my life. But the film thing was something that I really, the Epic Film Challenge, forcing, I mean, we'd watch a lot of films we'd already seen and we know that we like, but we'd watch other films that we'd never seen. I started watching foreign films. You know, Seven Samurai was one that just blew me away and kind of changed my life forever. I was like, well, I need to see more of these Akira Kurosawa films. And so all of this kind of changes my film viewing experience and broadens my horizon. I'm sorry, I kind of burped there. And so I start seeing different films, and I started getting into films even more. And after living with me at my mum's, which was a ridiculous living situation, me and Connie had a room between us, you know. We managed for a year somehow, and even with 2 cats. And that all kind of spiraled out of control very quickly, but she was not too happy with the TV I had. It was a very small kind of, you know, CRT TV, 4x3, square box. And she's like, I want to get a new TV, nothing less than 42 inches. I thought, holy, do we really need a TV that's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds? Yes. Okay, alright then, you know, I'll do what I'm told. So we had this new HD TV. I thought, well, let's take advantage of it. Let's go high definition. I'll get a Blu-ray player. Connie was very against the Blu-ray thing. She's like, there's no difference. And even I was saying there's no difference. I remember being over my friend's house in 2010. He had the Xbox 360 hooked up. We're playing one of the WWE games. And Denzel, who had the Xbox, he had the HD TV that just came in. And I was like, well, let's have a look in you know, standard definition, and then change the cable over, and I'll show you that there's no difference. And I'm saying this to my other friend. And he switched the cable around. I was like, oh, that's a big difference. You know, I couldn't quite see it with movies. It was like something I needed to like adjust to over a few months. Even when I first got the Blu-ray player, I'm like, wow, it looks great. But I was kind of lying to myself. I didn't really see the perceptible difference. But after a few months, it was almost like staring at a magic eye thing. You know, I suddenly clicked into place where all that extra detail was, and I suddenly just loved Blu-ray. Got a PlayStation 3 because the Blu-ray player I bought was really cheap from Argos, and I bought that from a friend. It was secondhand, and it didn't play Pulp Fiction. That was one of the most devastating experiences of my film viewing life, was trying to watch Pulp Fiction on Blu-ray. It looked amazing, but it kept stuttering. Bought the PS3 and it played beautifully with no problem. So now I'm kind of moving forward, and there's a great clip from one of my early videos where I show you the first films I bought on Blu-ray. It's like Silence of the Lambs, Independence Day, and The Matrix. And I say something like, I'm not going to buy many Blu-rays, just some select films that I really love. And you flash forward to my gargantuan collection that now surrounds me on all four sides of this room. Yeah, it didn't really pan out the way I thought it would. And, you know, Connie was saying, oh, I'm just going to buy all the films you already own anyway, it's a waste of money. And, you know, both are probably true by the end of it when it's all said and done. And towards the end of 2011 Christmas, I got the PS3 and I got Batman Arkham City. And I loved that game to death, and I wanted to get the Platinum Trophy, which involved doing a lot of challenge rooms. And they're very monotonous, and you know, I kept fucking failing them. So I needed something to keep me going. So I would listen to YouTube videos. I'd finish work around 11:30 at night, get home at around midnight. Connie would be asleep in the bed next to me. I'd sit on the edge of the bed in the dark, put Arkham City on, do the challenge rooms for hours, get the headphones on, laptop next to me, and I'd put on Robbie Webster's channel. I'd put other videos on, but I kind of went through the entire Robbie Webster back catalogue, watched all of his videos, heard his stories, his thoughts on films, and I thought, I love this guy. He seems like a really nice guy. Love his thoughts on films, love his style of Blu-ray updates, and so I messaged him like I tended to do. Never thought he'd reply to me because he had a couple of thousand subscribers, and then he replied, and we got talking, and we became very good friends. And he is, I don't speak to him as much very often because I don't speak to him very much or very often lately because he's very busy, and frankly so am I these days. But he's one of those people that I'm really glad that I know, and that was it was the beginning of a really nice friendship. And the same with Ryan Chataway, who I kind of found through Robbie. And again, Ryan is one of my very best YouTube friends, and you know, we talked a lot during that time period, and we still talk now. So it's like, you know, when you get older, I mean, again, that's so strange because back then I felt old enough, but now I feel even older. And I think that, you know, especially when you're in a relationship with someone, you know, your priorities kind of change and things, but you always have time for those people that you really enjoy talking to at the beginning. And I can't believe we're not even past 2011 in my channel. I guess I'll kind of rattle through the remaining years quickly. But you know, it's interesting to look back on those early formative years of my channel and my life with Connie, I suppose, as well in some ways, and some of those friends that I made. And in 2012, I really fully committed on the movie thing, and I just loved buying Blu-rays and watching films and talking about them. Ryan started the 24-hour movie marathon challenge, and I jumped in on that. And I remember that, you know, I think at a certain point you could only make videos up to 15 minutes in length, unless you had like a verified channel or there was some kind of system where you needed to really work at it and get loads of views. I remember when I hit 50 subscribers on my channel, I was on the toilet in work on my phone. I was like, it's 50 subscribers, this is huge. And nowadays, you know, I hit 8,000 and I don't really even notice that it's happened. But you know, I think really it almost was never as big as that first 50 subscriber milestone, because it's like, wow, 50 people would like to watch what I have to say. And I'm sure that at least, like, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 of my current subscribers are either dead subs or people who don't really watch, you know. But that's usually how it goes, you know. And I think that for newer channels starting out, they need to realize that, you know, when you have 1,000 subscribers, say, and only 50 people watch your videos regularly, that's normal. It's usually about, you know, 5 to 10% of your actual subscriber base that regularly watch your channel. That's just a usual number, I think. Obviously it varies, but that's usually the average. So it's just one of those things. Like, I have 8,000 subscribers. I would say I get between 200 and 400 views per video at a very average level. Even then it can be, as, you know, down 200, under 200. It's just one of those things. But, you know, it was really exciting. I think that the first, like, 1,000 subscribers was really a big deal for me. But, you know, since then it's more about the comments. Like, you know, I would love to get a video that has 50 comments versus 5,000 views. It's all about the interactivity, and I love that, just speaking to people, chatting about films, and that's always really been a driving force for me, but also a creative outlet. And so the 24-hour movie marathon, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. It sounds like a lot of fun. I did it to Ryan's guidelines, and the video ended up being like 24 minutes long or something like that, so I split it into 2 parts because it was so long, 20 minutes. And you look at some of the shit that I've released since then, it makes me laugh thinking about how I was worried that it was too long of a video. But I love doing that 24-hour movie marathon. I did a few skits, and I enjoyed that. It felt like a nice product at the end of it. And then after that, the next big thing that I did, concurrently with like the Epic Film Challenge still running, was the RazorwireReviews Batathon. I was a huge fan of The Dark Knight, and I was really looking forward to the final part of the trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises, so I mapped out this kind of series where I would watch every single Batman film weekly leading up to the release of The Dark Knight Rises. So I posted a review every single week for 15 weeks. So that's like, what, 4 months, I think, something like that. So it was like Batman, Batman Returns, Forever, Batman and Robin. I did Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, I did the original serials from the 1940s, I did the Batman 1966 movie, I did all the Batman animated movies, there's like 15 of them or something that were released up until that point, obviously in 2012, and it all led into The Dark Knight Rises, and I loved making that series. That felt like really fulfilling to me. Just to put like a little intro on the beginning and have a nice thumbnail, a nice series, and you know me, I love nice little series that for the most part don't pan out, but I've always enjoyed kind of branding things and creating things. Even when I was a kid, I would make like wrestling compilation videos and like give them a name and like make a cover in Photoshop, and I love doing all that kind of stuff, you know, or taping movies off the TV and having like a double bill on a VHS tape and then like putting a little... I used to make music compilations on cassette tape, and there was kind of a template on my computer at home where you could print out like a little cassette cover, and there was all different templates and stuff, so I made my own like mixtapes with like the track listings. I just loved making things like that, and YouTube series to me are kind of like that. It's like a nice kind of separate thing that you can make. Like the most recent one I did was Cameron King of the World, a 31 video series, put all the work into the thumbnails, nice little intro, and then me talking about something, and there's like a thematic kind of thing that ties it all together. I really enjoy doing that stuff, you know, and sometimes I put more time into the editing than not. I really enjoyed with the Epic Film Challenge doing a couple of reviews where we used clips from the film, and me and Connie were kind of doing skit stuff. I throw things into those videos very, very rarely, but I do them here and there. And then I did the montage videos, so a clip from every film that we watch from all 365 films, and like these music video montages in order. I love doing that stuff and flexing my editing muscles and things, and so I had a huge amount of fun doing all that. And in 2012 I bought, maybe it was 2011, no, it was 2012, I cut all my hair off. That's another thing, you see me change over the years, you know, from, you know, I'd say an average, you know, weighted young man with long hair and a goatee to a much larger man with shorter hair, and then the hair grew back again, and then the weight went down, then the weight went way back up again, is where I'm sat now as a fat fuck. But you know, the hair gets longer, I cut it off. The hair gets long, I cut it off. So I'm always kind of changing parts of my appearance inadvertently. So you can almost look at the size of my cheeks and the double chin, or the size of the length of my hair, to see exactly where we are in the chronology of the RazorwireReviews channel and history. But I really just enjoyed doing the series, like I said, and doing the kind of, you know, spending more time on the editing of those certain things. And I have actually lost my train of thought, and I'm trying to cover it up now by continuing to talk. And I'm still very conscious of the fact that I've now gone almost an hour, and I still haven't done anything that I would consider worthy cutting out of the video. So I'm doing good on the no cuts rule in terms of this. It's not a very smooth presentation that way, but right. So where was I going with that? I was talking about how I had like long hair and stuff, and I gained weight and lost weight. Right. So vlogs. I got the new camera, like a Canon HD camcorder. It looked so much better than the Flip, and that saw me through for many, many years. And the one I have right now is pretty much the exact same thing, but a different model. So I loved getting a new camera. I started doing vlogs because I liked vlog channels, and so I set up a new channel called Luke Ryan Lives, an offshoot of one of my personal blogs. And I really enjoyed doing that. I made loads of vlogs, like out and about stuff, and just me and Connie and the stuff that we would like redecorate in the room and all that stuff, and get the cats that we got, and I love doing that. But I started to feel as time went on that I was showing too much of my private life. And I thought, you know, I don't think I'm real. I like the idea of sharing this stuff, but at the same time, I don't want people to see it. I don't think, and so I held back from that for a while. And I kind of dipped in and out of it. In the early 2013, I did loads of vlogs, especially as I moved to Norway for the first time. And so I have all those videos, but I think I took them down. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think there needs to be a line that's drawn based on how comfortable you are with sharing certain things. And you know, as the years have gone on in my YouTube life, well, yeah, we'll say YouTube life and not YouTube career, because it isn't a career, is it? Even if you're using it in the loosest of terms. So yeah, I started to feel like I need to draw back more on the personal life stuff, and that only grew as time went on. And yeah, I guess here we'll talk about some of the drama before we continue. So I've had conflicts with people through YouTube, and I don't really want to talk about them because I really could sit here and I could lay it all out on the table and tell you about the times where I got so frustrated that I cried, and you know, I had these interactions with people that I thought were really horrible, and then I would reflect on my own actions and think, well, maybe I shouldn't have made that smart-ass comment, but did I really deserve that abuse from just making a dickish comment? I didn't think so. And you know, those things kind of, they make you recalibrate, like, okay, how much should I really be throwing myself out there, not even on YouTube, but in terms of privately with people on Facebook or wherever. We used to talk through the YouTube private messages, you know, YouTubers, but you know, maybe I should keep people at arm's length even more, because some people might appear to be really cool guys, and that's what you see on the video, but as I know and increasingly have become aware of, that isn't really the real person entirely. I think there are exceptions to that. I think there are people who I've met on YouTube who they seem like really cool, down-to-earth people, and then you meet them in person and it's exactly the same. And I think I'm fairly similar to how I am on camera. It's obviously different. I do feel like there's some inherent performance going on when you're in front of a camera like this, but I like to think that I'm fairly close to, you know, what I present on camera. You know, I don't talk to people like this because I would get so conscious of just boring them to death with things that I say, because I really go off on one if I really get into something. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, so I've been more careful as those things have happened, and there have been these conflicts and interactions, and you know, people making, you know, these fake accounts in the comments and stuff, and you know, that's happened, you know, throughout the whole period, I think, and you learn to deal with it in different ways. And there are the troll comments that are just random people who just want to be dickish. And you know, I've said this before, and I understand people who say that, you know, well, you shouldn't let these people get to you because they're either jealous of you or you know, so on and so forth, and it shouldn't really matter because it's just a faceless, you know, name on a screen. And I agree with all of that stuff, but sometimes it just hits you on the wrong day. I put up that Zatoichi marathon video and people just hated it because I wasn't showing the movies. And I've talked about that in a separate video, so I won't go into any detail here, but you know, the comment that I got was like, you should just drink bleach and die for this. And it's such an outrageous comment that you can never really take it seriously. But I'd had one of the worst weeks of my life, and to cap it all off, here's someone saying, oh, you put, you know, months into, you know, filming and editing this, so I think you should kill yourself and die. And I know that it's probably 99.9% chance that person didn't really want me to go and kill myself, but it's just like, what, that really hurts, you know? And it's like, fuck. You know, why would someone say that? And I think, well, you know, I've got to feel bad for them because there's obviously something going on in their life where they're not happy. You know, and I'm not saying that in a way to even look down on them, because I think that understanding is a very key part of coexisting with each other that a lot of people are not even willing to start considering. It's just one of those things. But, you know, sometimes a comment will hit you on a bad day and it just fucks up your day and you just get really down about it. And that happens sometimes. Not too often, and by saying that in this video, I understand I'm now, you know, almost opening the doors to people. Oh, I can really hurt his feelings here. But you know, I've been dealing with it for a very long time, and there's so many comments that I've gotten over the years that most of it you just laugh off or you shrug off. And usually when people challenge me on stuff, that's when I get a bit more, my back goes up a little bit more, and I start to say, well, okay, why do you think this is the case? And I'll kind of say, this doesn't, your argument doesn't make sense here, and you're kind of conflating two different things. And they'll argue back and forth, and I'll get into it, but at a point I just say, okay, this person isn't worth it, and they're just not getting it, or they just want to contradict themselves and contradict me and all this stuff. So you get all that stuff with YouTube. That comes with the territory. There is no avoiding it. If you have a certain amount of viewers, you will get that stuff. And that's kind of why I'm happy with where my channel is, and that it hasn't skyrocketed or anything like that. I think that, you know, this type of video, this type of channel, talking about movies, there's a certain glass ceiling for people like me. I'm not someone who's so driven and even talented enough to really attack this channel with videos to get myself up to like a Cody Leach level or something like that. Or then you have obviously the top tier of like Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman, and then I would feel so uncomfortable with that amount of eyes on my channel. I think where I'm at right now, I really like it. You know, a few comments I can manage and look at, and obviously I'd like more comments and more viewers, and it'd be nice, but you know, it's never been about making money with the ads or anything. That's always been nice pocket money. There's the Patreon thing, I'll get to that soon enough, but you know, it's never been really for me like, you know, I want to make it, because it's just a hobby, and I would hate it to be something I had to do. I think the moment I would have to do videos like this, the fun would drain out of it for me, I think. So, but anyway, so that's just one of those things where I think that it's exceptional for someone who makes videos about movies to really take off. And so I've always had that expectation of I'll probably gain subscribers, but I'll stay around this same kind of glass ceiling bubble, and I'm completely fine with that. It's just one of those things. But where did I come in on that? So yeah, so if you were to have like the viewers of, say, Chris Stuckman, the amount of comments, I'd probably stop looking at comments, and that'd be a real shame, you know? I think for me, YouTube is about the interaction. I understand just getting your views out there and leaving it at that. I understand that way of doing it, that's fine. But for me, I do like replying to people, seeing what they have to say, and agreeing or disagreeing, and going from there. Anyway, so where was I? Right, so yeah, so the drama stuff, you know, I've had a few spats here and there, but there's been a few videos I've filmed over the years that I've never released, and even deleted outright, because I thought that it's not right to do that. And I know that it would get a lot of views and make a few bucks on the old AdSense, because there'd be a lot of views and eyes on it, but I've always just thought a cooler head has prevailed, and I thought these people aren't worth it, you know, and so I've let it slide. And you know, there's been a few instances and things like that, but honestly over the past few years or so, there's really been nothing, and that's kind of by design, because I'm really careful now with who I talk to, and again, just who can you trust. But even that, sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, and it's someone who you don't really know. And it always happens, and I look back on the YWC, the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of egos here. You get that in this community too, and there's always conflict and drama going on, but I felt like the wrestling one felt more petty at times. And the YouTube movie community, I'll call it, I mean, there's a certain subsect who call themselves the Blue Tube community, and I thought, wow, I'd never considered that, and I don't really see myself as a Blue Tuber, even though Blu-rays are such a big part of the personality and identity of my channel, but I'm not fully about it. And I've always felt like doing things differently, even from the beginning when I do the vlog Road Diaries, which was something that was not really related to wrestling. And then I found in 2012 a channel that changed my outlook on the RazorwireReviews channel forever. And that channel was Zaran Sean. I would say that probably, you know, overall he's maybe my favorite channel, you know, of all time in terms of the people who I watch, and, you know, I've really enjoyed over the years. I mean, that's like the HD rants. I go back to that every couple of years and just rewatch or re-listen to the whole thing, because it's just so enjoyable. But, you know, he had an approach that to me felt like that's what I want to do. I want to sit down and talk about a movie for 30 minutes and really get into it. And I've taken that and then gone to the nth degree on it in some cases. And if we look at the Rise of Skywalker review that I did that was 4 hours long, you know, I far surpassed kind of the length of some of his videos in terms of just talking about one fucking movie. But I started watching his Blade Runner videos, and then like the collection stuff and some of his rants, which are so funny. And I love the guy, and I would talk in the comments, but we'd never really, you know, become friends or anything, or talk privately. But he was someone I looked up to in terms of a certain video he made where he said that variety is the spice of my channel. I'll post whatever I want, whether it's gaming videos, Blu-ray updates, or anything like that. And I felt like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I really want to embrace the variety as the spice of my channel, do whatever I want. And I will make a video about a Pink Floyd album, or I will make a video of me singing the lyrics that have been wrongly translated through Google, or I will make a vlog about this, or I will talk about a wrestling show here, and a movie here, and a Blu-ray there, and all sorts of different things. And so it's always for me been, or gaming stuff I started getting into at one point. So all this stuff for me was just like, you know, he inspired me to just be me even more than I was already being, and just do whatever I wanted to do. And that's kind of the way I've operated my channel since then. And since then, you know, gradually over the years, I became, you know, friends with Sean. And I would count him now as actually one of my best friends, like in general, I would say. And that's come through, oddly, the world of playing Fortnite with him on the regular. And it's been a strange thing where that's kind of brought us closer together, and we've talked a lot more in private and things. And you know, so you just get these great friends through YouTube. It's just like-minded people. I think me and Sean are very similar in terms of our procrastination, our laziness, our sleep schedules, our interest in movies, our particularness about physical media and all sorts of things like that. And we disagree on a lot of things too, but you find these people who are really similar, and it's the kind of people you just don't find a lot of in your day-to-day life. And it's just one of those things that different people around the world are different, but there are similar people, and they might be next door to you, they might be on the other side of the world. It's just one of those things, and the internet is very good at bringing those people together, because invariably you're going to start talking about those things on the internet and someone else is, and it's like, oh, hi, and then you get brought together that way. And another burp is coming, unfortunately, so I apologize for that, and we'll leave that in for free. So 2012 I went more into the movie videos, and then my channel pretty much became primarily a kind of movie channel. And I did some stuff in 2011 called WWE Live Reactions, where I'd watch pay-per-views live with one of my good wrestling friends, and in fact one of my earliest friends in my life, James the Hammer Rowley. And so he was like my first kind of, you know, person who joined me on the channel in a sense. And so and he will actually make an appearance in 24 Hour Movie Marathon 9, so that'd be interesting. But anyway, so that's I'm getting ahead of myself. You know, 2012 I kind of stopped the wrestling stuff, and then Connie got the news. I don't want to talk about it too much. She got the news that her father was sick, and so she decided she was going to come to Wales for a year and see how it went. And it was great. It was a great year. You know, we enjoyed it. You know, we got together well. My mum got on well with Connie and stuff, and we had a really great year together. All three of us, and adding the cats into that as well. But then she went back home to Norway, and the plan was for me to move there for a year. And so the channel kind of changed after that, because I'd now moved to a different location. But it was, I think, February of 2013 that I made the move to Norway. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because you leave home at, I mean, how old was I then? 2013, so I was, 24. So I was 24 when I moved away from home for the first time. And that sounds kind of almost pathetic, but again, I completely own that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, if someone enjoys living with their parents, what is life if not something to enjoy? I get it, that can hold people back, certainly, and it definitely held me back living with my mum for so long. But, you know, it all worked out well in the end, I thought. But, you know, having to leave home and move out when you're 24, for one thing, and also the first time you move out, is not to like a flat, you know, that you're sharing with a mate on the other side of town. You're going to a different country. You're going 1,000 miles away, completely separated from your entire family. It wrecked me. It absolutely floored me. When we drove away, my dad drove me away from my mum's house. I was just in bits, you know, and on the phone to my mum every day, and I was like, I don't know how I would do this without speaking to you. And then as time goes on, you adjust, and you go weeks without speaking to your parents, and that's just kind of the almost bittersweet way that life goes sometimes. But my first arrival in Norway was exciting, but then, you know, very shortly after arriving, Connie's dad passed away, and then her nan passed away, and then we went to the funeral for her nan, and that's when we got the call that her other nan had passed away. So it was a very horrible first experience in terms of, I'm so glad I was there for her for that. I mean, that's something I'm really grateful for, but it was difficult, you know, really, really difficult. And I had this arrangement with work where I could go away for a couple of months, and then I could come back and have my same job if I decided to come back. And so I decided to come back, and I felt like I'd quit on it. And I felt really shitty about that. I came back in May of 2013, I think, and I worked for a couple of months, and I just thought, I don't belong here anymore. I belong with Connie. That's my life, and I need to be where she is. So I went back, sucked it up, and then I was there for 5 years. And you know, I want to talk about my life throughout some of this stuff. I know it might seem irrelevant to you, but the channel was kind of, that was probably the only time I took a real break, was late 2012, when things were moving towards me, moving to Norway, I took about a month off from the channel, and it felt really weird to do that. And in early 2013, I started my Road to Episode 7 series, the kind of, you know, I do videos here and there talking about the news about the new Star Wars movie, and I did that for, what was it, 2013 to 2019, so it was almost 7 years of constant, you know, Road to Episode 7, 8 and 9. That was a cool long-running series that I enjoyed doing and putting together, and can look back on and see my reactions to certain moments in that journey of the sequel trilogy coming out, which I was a huge anticipator of and then later a fan of. So, yeah, I mean, consistency-wise, I don't think I've taken more than a month off my channel ever, and I've posted videos weekly pretty much consistently for 10 years. There's probably been only about maybe 2 months, you know, there may be another time where I took a month without posting videos, and that might have been when I was moving, but even then, of all the moves that I've done over the past few years, I've always been posting stuff, and had stuff prepared, you know, so it's, and now I sit here and I have well over 2,500 videos on my channel. It's a gargantuan amount, and you know, who knows how many more I'm going to make and post, but it's yeah, so the 2013 Norway, and that was a tricky adjustment period. You know, I obviously wanted to find work out there, and I didn't. There was a couple of opportunities. There was this one job I had where I was washing dishes in a restaurant, and the guy was like, okay, here's your pay, it's very low, but you know, after a couple of months, if you know, if you're still here, the pay will go up. And so I thought, well, I'll take what I can get, you know. And it was miserable work, really tough physically, you know, all respect to people who work in kitchens and stuff, and with my wrestling days, you know, it was just, it wreaked havoc on my back. And this guy I worked with, I can't remember where he was from, and I don't want to just guess it, but I think he was African, and he was a really nice guy, and he was been working there for a while. And as I finished the shift one night, I said, what pay are you on? And he told me, and I was like, and did you start on that pay? And he said, yeah. I said, how long have you been here? He said, about 1.5 years. And I thought, okay, this is one of those situations where, you know, the person who's hiring people, he's clearly hiring foreign people for these jobs, and they're not completely above board. And I was miserable, and Connie just said, look, I'd rather you not be miserable. And so I stepped away from that job, and I never worked in Norway, for, you know, Norway. And that's crazy that I was there for 5 years, but there comes a point where, you know, you support each other, and Connie was supporting the both of us. And we lived in this really small, you know, flat. It wasn't even a flat, it was like an extension on someone's house, and we loved the landlords, they were very nice, but it was a tiny place, you know, we could barely move almost, but I loved it. It was so cozy. You had the trees outside, the view from our window was like a fucking postcard, especially when it snowed. I loved that place so much, and we had no room, but I loved it. We had each other. We had Lily, and I loved making videos there. You know, I just, God, I'd go back. You know, it's strange because we've now grown as a couple, and we've grown in our possessions, and we have this big house now that we rent and things. And this, you know, I couldn't even imagine we wouldn't be able to fit everything we own inside that old place anymore. But there's such a charm to it, and so it wasn't very expensive. Lovely little neighborhood. I loved the area, up on a hill away from the city and stuff. It was nice and quiet, and it just was, I loved it so much. It's almost painful how much I loved it, and they're just great times. Some of the best times of my life in that place, and living in Norway in general. I love that country, and but I didn't love how they were very unreceptive to English speakers and helping me to find a job and stuff, and there were opportunities, and they just didn't really come to pass. Because you need to speak fluent Norwegian. I went to the university for a while and learned Norwegian, but I just couldn't. I got alright at reading it and writing it, but speaking it in full flow, there's just a block, you know. And I do feel guilty that it's that I didn't keep at it and stuff, and that's just something I'll have to work on. But I don't know. That's definitely a huge source of guilt that I'll probably carry around for the rest of my life, that I couldn't fully do that. But you know, Connie supported the both of us, and she had a really good job. And it was fine, you know, we managed to live fairly comfortably. And then, you know, I started my Patreon on my channel. It was a new thing that was coming up. I think I started it in 2014 or maybe 2015. And I talked about how I needed hard drives, and that's what I was starting the Patreon kind of site for. So people would send me money every month, like a few quid, and I had some tiers where I'd offer certain things, and I feel like I never really fully delivered on some of those, which is where even more guilt came, I guess, in the long run. But you know, it was a really helpful resource, actually. I was blown away that I launched the Patreon, and it got a really good response right away, and it never really dropped all that much. So I was getting like £40 to £50 a month from Patreon consistently for about 5 years. It maybe dropped down to like just under like 35 maybe, but people joined Patreon, people left Patreon, but it was always a consistent, and some of the people who supported me for so long, like I'd look at the end of my Patreon run, so to speak, at the end of last year, and it's like, you know, the name there, like Scott Cineram or Ryan Chataway, and I don't want to name some people, I'm not naming the others, but anyone who supported me on Patreon, I mean, it's a huge level of appreciation from me. But you'd see some of those people who were there in the beginning, right to the end, and you see the lifetime, you know, support amount, and it's like staggering, you know, wow, that person gave me that much money because they enjoyed my videos and wanted to help support, you know, the furthering of it, because I was making so many videos, I was running out of space, and I wanted to save everything that I could, and there was only a certain amount you could do on burning DVD discs and DVD data discs. So I was buying these new hard drives, and I now have drawers full of hard drives because I obsessively back things up and, you know, kind of, what's the word? I kind of back them up doubly. There's got to be a term. This happens now, especially when I'm talking for this long. But like I like to kind of back them up like in triplicate if I can. You know, like to just really be safe, not just to back them up once, but twice and 3 times if I can, depending on the level of, like, if it's like footage from a new movie marathon I haven't edited yet, that'll be like backed up on like 5 different drives just to be absolutely sure. I should really back them up and then put drives in different locations just in case the house burns down, you know. But so that was a huge resource. But also I would take some of that money just to have, you know, for me, in terms of like we go out to the cinema, I could buy my own snacks, just little things like that, and it was a huge help. And I'd get a lot of criticism, like, you know, well, once you get the hard drives, you know, aren't you going to like close the Patreon channel? What do you need the money for? And people would get really funny about that, and some people were really they took offense to the fact that I didn't have a, you know, full-time job. And it was just the situation, you know, and that really got me down and upset me when people were just like, well, why do you care? Why the fuck do you care? You know, well, I guess they could say I care because you're asking for money, but I think that the Patreon thing was, you know, it had its detractors, and it had the criticisms from people who didn't agree with it, but it just had huge, you know, huge benefits to me and the channel in terms of backing up the stuff, and now having room to film these big movie marathons and to make these videos that are 5-6 hours long, and kind of be able to support that with all the high definition footage and everything. So the Patreon thing was really good. And then in September of 2015, things really changed for me. I got a job working for JoeBlow.com. Someone messaged me the other day saying, "Hey, was that you on the Joe Blow video?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been working with them for, you know, half a decade now." So I got a job working for Joe Blow, making videos, and the first series I did was top 5 movie mistakes, so just like a fun little 5-minute video about some of the gags and goofs in films. I know that that's not this channel, I shouldn't talk about it too much, but it always cracked me up how people got so confused with what a movie mistake was. Back in the 90s, a movie mistake was like, hey, here's this like screenshot of like an extra in the background, isn't that funny? And that was about as far as it went. But now in the terms of like, you know, this movie explained, this movie had a big mistake, this plot hole. So you make a video like in 2015 saying, oh look, there's the bit where the stormtrooper banged his head, and they're like, that's not a plot hole. What does that have to do with the plot? These are just continuity mistakes. You don't know what a movie is. It's like, that's what it is. You know, people got so mad about those videos, but I enjoyed doing them. It was very much an interesting feeling out process of how I was going to present those, because I did the writing, the editing, the narrating, which I hate doing the narration, but it's kind of a necessity. And then I did other series like Movie Endings Explained and things like that, and I always tried to stress in those videos that this is a movie ending explored, not explained, but you know, people still get mad about it. So I then started making money doing stuff that I really enjoyed, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm making money making videos about Star Wars, you know. And it wasn't enough to like pay half the rent every month, but it was enough to now pay for cinema trips, now pay for food, pay for snacks, pay for my trips to go home, which I'd been relying on family to help me out with in terms of like going home every 3 to 6 months. I think there was a certain period where I had to go back because I was living in Norway, and you know there was a big thing where I moved to Norway, and to be like like a regular resident in Norway, I needed to go to the police and show them I had a bank account with like £75,000 in it or something ridiculous. I'm like, I don't have that. I'll never have that. So I was never fully registered, I don't think. I just had to leave the country every 3 months, or every 6 months I think it changed to. So I'd go home and visit and stuff, and You know, there's part of me now that I'm back in, you know, so to give you the timeline of where I've lived over the course of the channel, started in Wales, where I live in my hometown, moved to Norway, moved back again, moved to Norway, stayed there for 5 years, came back to Wales in 2018, moved to London in 2018, moved back to Wales in 2019, that's where I am now. And where was I going with this? So the moving, and I don't know where I was going with that. I've moved, I've lived in different places. Come on, let's find it, Luke. Let's not completely derail this thing while I was in a flow. I've moved around. Where is that going? I have no idea. Holy shit. There's just so much to talk about and it all gets jumbled up in my brain. So, moving around. Moved from Norway. Came back here. I really have no idea. I have no idea where I was going with that. Let's take a sip of 7-Up, shall we? And we'll take a pause here. We've been going long enough without a break. Think. Think, man, think. Moving. Over all the times that I've moved, no, it's gone. It's completely gone. So, anyway, alright, I've lived in different places. Yeah, I don't know. It's gone. Oh my god, that's really going to bug me. And I can't just like turn the camera off and go back because I'd have to like forward to the very end and it's like an hour long, hour and 18-minute recording at the minute. Holy shit, right? Where was I? Let's try and like work my way back into that. I was working for Joe Blow. I was making money. Making enough to kind of get by. And that was good. That felt nice to at least have something. And so those remaining years in Norway were really nice. And then the videos just kept coming. I had like all the time in the world to make videos. That was something that I don't have anymore. And it's funny to see some of the more outlandish stuff that I was putting together. And in 2013 I did 24-Hour Movie Marathon 2, which turned into an hour and 45-minute long video. And I thought that was going to completely tank. It was too long. I cut out stuff and I thought it's too long. It became one of the most successful videos on my channel. And that was huge, and I'd kind of done something different. Did some skits, got Ryan to make a cameo, and that kind of was the building blocks for what the 24-Hour Movie Marathon became when I took it and changed it into something else. And it became, let's not watch movies over a 24-hour period and stay up all night. Let's watch 24 hours worth of movies over like a 3 to 4 day period and really make an event out of it, make half a week out of it. And Connie joined me for some of that, and with the second one, another burp coming, excuse me. And that became something that we started to share together. And by the third marathon, she joined me for almost all of it. And from 4 onwards, she joined me for the entire thing, even up to 24-Hour Movie Marathon 10, which we filmed at the beginning of 2021. So the 24-Hour Movie Marathon, we'll just talk about that a little bit now. That has become something that I'm so proud of, even though I don't think it's great. I think it's just such a fun and kind of unique thing. You know, no one makes a video like that where you have like in certain marathons there's like a 25-minute short film at the beginning to set it all up, and then it's just like a kind of, you know, an extended video diary with like some images here and there and some fun little skits in between, and then you have the ending and some credits like it's an actual movie, which it isn't really, but it's a big project that takes months to kind of, you know, edit and stuff and put together. And I've got to the point where I started getting these cameos from people like Mick Foley and Warwick Davis and Tammy Stronach, and it's like, holy shit, I've got a movie star in my video, you know. And this isn't just like you pay them to say, hi, I'm Warwick Davis, welcome to the video. It's like, no, I had a back and forth with Warwick Davis through emails saying, here's my idea, here's this little mini script that I've written, I've done 2 versions, maybe you can kind of improvise some of that and see, you know, what you think. And then he didn't reply to me for a month, and Connie was mortified because she thought I'd offended him by asking him to do something where he sounded like a dick. But I thought, no, it's Warwick Davis, he's done really good comedy, he'll know the angle I'm going for. And then out of nowhere he sends me the footage, and he did like 90% of like the lines that I had written and made them his own, and completely got the joke that I was going for. And I felt like, wow, I just kind of directed Warwick Davis a little bit. And your mind gets blown with some of those things. And I think almost I focus on that too much, where like the next movie marathon's coming around, I'm thinking, what actor can I get to do in this? Where it's like, well, it's not really about that, really, is it? It's at the core of it, it's just me and Connie watching films and our kind of back and forth banter with each other and having fun and talking about movies and disagreeing and all that stuff. And it really is one of my favorite things to do, you know, in my entire life, I think, is to take 3 days where it's just me and Connie watching movies and talking about them. I absolutely love it so much. It's my favorite video to make. I like making an event out of it, and then putting a bit of a song and dance behind the production and making it feel like it's a big thing, even though it isn't really. And people enjoy them. You know, a lot of people do enjoy them, and I'm really glad that they watch them and stuff. And I've really fallen behind on releasing them, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. But you know, there's 3 unreleased marathons out there. But anyway, so 2013 in Norway. Norway was where the movie marathon was really born, I feel. And there's so many videos that I loved doing there, and there's lots of places nearby that I could go and film skits and things. And you know, it gets to a point where I'm now just kind of blowing smoke up my own ass about stuff that I've made that I think is really good. But the silent movie marathons and my whole discovery of silent cinema really happened in Norway. You know, it was kind of, what was the first kind of big silent, okay, so Seven Samurai kind of really changed things for me in 2011. And then 2012 I did the first 24-hour movie marathon. I watched A Trip to the Moon, that really fascinated me. And then I watched Metropolis, and that blew me away. And then Buster Keaton just drop kicked the door off the hinges, and silent cinema unfolded before me for the rest of my life. And that all happened while I was in Norway and collecting the Eureka Masters of Cinema Blu-rays, and discovering that the Amazon VAT would get taken off if you ordered to Norway, and so you get Blu-rays cheaper and stuff, and all that, you know, and then a collection would be built in Norway, because my collection was back home in Wales, and I'd bring these big like disc wallets to bring some of my collection to watch, and then I'd buy things when I was in Norway, and then I had like more money that I was earning through Joe Blow, and then even the YouTube kind of ad money would come in, and I'd spend that on some Blu-rays, and then a collection grows over 5 years in Norway. And it's like, holy shit, I've got to move that over to Wales, and then combine the collections, and then move that whole collection over to London, and then move that whole collection back again when that year happened in London. That could be, the London year could be another, you know, 2.5-hour video in itself, probably. You know, I would say it was the worst year of my life, but then 2020 happened, and I'm not even talking about the pandemic, and that was a whole, that added to it for sure, but you know, not even a good story for another time, a shit story, maybe for no time. I don't think anyone's interested in that, but yeah, so 2012 was a real shit show. Anyway, so the first years in Norway were really great, and I made more friends, and even from the beginning of like 2011, well 2012 I'd say, when people would send me things, like Robbie Webster, we did a trade, and he threw in Rushmore, the Criterion Blu-ray, and it was like, I was blown away. I was just like, this is such a nice gift. This is like an edition I've craved for so long, because in like the early 2000s I really wanted to get Rushmore on DVD with all the extras, and they didn't have any extras in the UK. In America they had this thing called the Criterion Collection with like a commentary and a documentary. I was like, I want that so much, but I didn't have a credit card, didn't have a bank account, I couldn't order this thing, and my dad wouldn't order it for me from overseas, and so I'd always wanted that Rushmore DVD. And now I was a Blu-ray kind of collector and loved high definition films, and Robbie bought me the Rushmore Criterion. That was like, wow. It seems small, but or it seems like an exaggeration to say something like this over something so small. But I said at the time, it kind of restores my faith in humanity, because it's like, people can just be nice to other people and expect nothing in return, and that's just really nice. It feels good, you know. And so I would then, when I would send someone something for a trade, I'd throw in something else and kind of pay it forward a little bit, and me and Robbie would send things back and forth. And Chill Pilgrim was a real character, and he sent me some stuff. He really enjoyed the Batathon series that I did, so he sent me some Batman related stuff, and I was like, this is really cool. I love this community. And you get the bad eggs and stuff, and you get the drama and the conflict and some backstabbing and all this stuff, but you get a lot of really cool people and good friends that you make, and you know, in some cases friends for life. And over the years I've had some amazing packages from people, from viewers who have sent me stuff that's like rare and out of print, and has blown me away. The Metropolis Steelbook, are you fucking kidding me? Like, amazing. The Thor Steelbook, that dropped me when I got sent that for my birthday, I think. And you know, there's too many people to thank and single out when it comes to those things, and so I won't start naming people. But you know, yeah, in 2014, I think 2015, I started making friends like James Merchant and Maticus Tatui, and I got, you know, fortunately was able to at least meet James in 2015, stayed with him one night when I went to see David Gilmour in London, so I got to kind of hang out with him and watch a movie or two. Yeah, we watched a movie at his place, and went to the cinema to see Everest, I think. So it's nice to meet. Oh, and we also went, was at a different time, we went to see a Buster Keaton film at the BFI as well, which was Steamboat Bill Jr. It might have been the same day. I think I've only met him once, so we did like 3 movies in a day. Either way, it's nice to meet people like that. And there have been those random encounters. When I lived in London, I randomly met up with Robbie, you know, the HBK Rebel, the Retro Rebel, whatever he goes by, you know, now, and went by back in the day. Never really spoke to him that much, but he's like a super friendly guy. And I just, hey, do you want to go watch this film in London with me? Yeah, sure. I went to see The Burbs at the Prince Charles Cinema, 35mm. Incredible to see that film on film in a nice little screening room, and people really enjoying one of my favourite films of all time, and showing him that, even though we weren't really close friends, just, hey man, how's it going? Nice to see you. And we just kind of, watch a film, go to FOP and buy some movies, that kind of thing. It's just, again, like-minded people, and it's a lot of fun. I think that one of the more memorable experiences of meeting someone through YouTube would be going to see Robbie Webster in New York and Ryan Chataway in Florida. So me and Connie did the big trip in 2014. We went over to the States and went up and down the East Coast. So we started in New York City, went up New York State up to Ontario, Canada, I believe, across the border for Niagara Falls. Went all the way down Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., the Carolinas, down to Atlanta, Georgia, down to Florida, stayed with Ryan, had stayed with Robbie at the beginning up in New York State, and then we went across to Alabama, New Orleans for WrestleMania 30, went over back to New York for a few more days. We had this epic trip. I called it, yes, the trip of a lifetime. And that was a big series on my channel that I haven't finished. It's kind of done. There's maybe a few episodes to do, but it was such an undertaking to make one of those episodes. But that's another thing I love, is like capturing that journey with so much footage and making like a nice kind of edited production of it. I really enjoyed doing that. But meeting Robbie and how hospitable him and his wife Hannah were, and we had such a great time spending a few days with them, and likewise with Ryan down in Florida with his wife. We just had a great time. Watched a couple of films, just hung out, and they couldn't have been better hosts and made us feel more welcome. And it was really sad when we left, because like, wow, we're probably not going to get to do that for a few more years, and it's now been 7 years since that trip, and I can't foresee any time soon we'll see them. So it might be a case that whenever I meet Ryan and Robbie again, it'll be a decade or more since I saw them last, and that's a shame too. But you have YouTube and you have Facebook to connect with these people, and that's kind of the fun of YouTube. But it's nice when you get those rare moments to meet up with people. I'd love to meet Sean, Zaran Izrael, that'd be really fun, but it's just like, it's the money, it's the time, and it's not that easy. But with certain people in the UK, it's a lot easier. Like Chris, CM42 up in Scotland. I mean, it would be feasible to go visit him, but then the older you get, the less time you have for these kind of jaunts, I think, and so it becomes trickier as time goes by. But my channel, evolved more into a Blu-ray centric channel. Like 2013-14, I really was collecting more, and I started doing reviews for Arrow Video. They would send me titles, and it's so funny how, like in 2014, I had about 2,000 subscribers, and I would get sent like all the new Arrow Video releases, like the full finished copies to review on my channel. And then I think last year I put the feelers out to some certain companies, like I'd love to review some of your films and do YouTube videos and stuff on them and promote them. Only the stuff that I'm interested in, because I wouldn't want to kind of get in all these films that I have no interest in and then pretend that I like them or anything, or give them a bad review, because then what's the point? I'd say that these are the kinds of titles that I would really like to focus and feature on my channel. Nothing. I got like 3 times the amount of subscribers and the views, and I've gotten nowhere with that stuff. And I think that you really need to attack that. And things have changed, I think, also, but I think you really need to attack that kind of reviewing screeners and things. You really need to kind of put a lot of energy into it, and it's energy that I don't have. But it's funny how back in 2014 I was getting stuff in from like Warner Brothers and Arrow Video and all this stuff, and that was kind of fun. But that also felt like a job after a while as well. It kind of seemed like this isn't quite as, after about 4 or 5 months, I thought this isn't quite as fulfilling as I thought it would be. I'd like to just talk about this film, but that's not like it's something I've been sent, and so that kind of ended and faded out pretty quickly. 2015 was, another kind of weird year in terms of a lot of stuff happened in my life. Went to see David Gilmour, that was huge. I lost a lot of weight to wrestle. I had my last match in London. The 2014 trip, the trip of a lifetime, was a big one for 2014. It felt like big things were happening every year, and 2016 was the year for me that I lost a lot of weight and got a lot healthier. And have proceeded over the past 5 years to put all that weight back on pretty much, and that's kind of how life goes sometimes. But you can look at different years in your own life and see very specific significant moments that happen in each of them. and I can look at all my YouTube videos and see those different points and parts. I did a collaboration channel in 2014 with Ryan and Robbie. I think that came out of the fact that we'd all, well, they had met each other, but I'd met Robbie, I'd met Ryan, and we all felt closer as a kind of trio. And we made a collaboration channel called the Blu-ray Brothers, and we were putting videos out every week, like 4 or 5 videos a week between all 3 of us. We were doing skits and stuff. We burned ourselves out so fucking quickly, but it was a blast to do it for like 3 or 4 months. And I think it'd be cool to kind of bring that channel back and put the band back together, so to speak, the Blu-ray Brothers. That'd be fun. But you know, Robbie's always been really busy. He works crazy hours, and Ryan has a very, you know, obviously an intense job, but he has a very important job, and he works a lot of hours too. So I'm busy. It's just one of those things that probably won't happen for a very long time, but I'd love to somewhere down the line to bring back the Blu-ray Brothers, if only for like a limited event series, like a little kind of you know, a limited run 8-episode special. I don't know, the Blu-ray Brothers: The Return. But that was fun, and I love doing all the skits and stuff. And Ryan is someone who I love, and we used to talk a lot on WhatsApp in the beginning of our friendship, and we were watching rewatching all the Bond movies after the box set came out, and kind of just chatting back and forth throughout the whole thing. And you know, we share a lot of interest in the same kinds of movies, and he made the movie marathon, and that kind of connects us. And you know, he's done marathons. I'll leave that in for free. He's done cameos for my marathons. I've done cameos for his, and we support each other in that way. And you know, it's just that's a really, yeah, one of my absolute best friendships, I think, is with Ryan Chataway. And you know, and I've seen his channel grow and evolve, and he's gone through dips and stuff, and I've gone through dips. You know, it's not just because I've been consistent with my channel doesn't mean that my channel's been great the whole time. Doesn't mean my channel has ever been great, but there are certain stretches where I feel like, yeah, I'm not really that, you know, those videos I could do without. I could take them or leave them. And then there are other periods where I kind of do a run of videos where I think that's really good. I love it when I do a review of a film and it just feels right, you know, because I never really write anything out or prepare it. I just sit down and just give my thoughts in kind of a free-flowing kind of thing off the top of my head. And sometimes it just fucking clicks and it feels so great. Other times it feels like a slog when you're searching for things to say, and you know, I feel it, you feel it, and it's just, you know, but I put it up anyway because I've done it, you know, so that happens sometimes, unfortunately. But I like it when a review just feels right, especially when it's with Connie, and then it feels even more accomplished, and it feels like whenever I make a video with her, it's special. You know, I really like doing videos with Connie, and it's a lot of fun. Even if I get frustrated at times with, you know, because I get very particular about certain things, like the way the camera is or the audio, and that was something that's changed over the years, is the equipment that I've made the videos with. You saw me turn the lights on at the beginning. Never used to use lights, never used a microphone. I bought a microphone in 2012 to do some podcasts and kind of live streams and things, and it was a really good Snowball Ice microphone. But I tried once to record audio while filming, and it worked out well, but it was just such a pain in the ass to get the audio track, line it up with the video, and just, oh, this is a pain, I'm not going to do this. I remember in 2017 I made a video, and Emily from Emily's Adventures in Horrorland, she messaged me, she said, I'm watching this video you made. She's like, is it raining while you're making it? I was like, no. Oh, because there's a lot of background noise. And you listen to just like the on-camera kind of white noise, it sounds like it was raining. I was just like, oh, okay, alright, motherfucker. You know, and it wasn't just, it was her and CP were really like, you know, oh, you don't use a microphone, huh? So then I got this one. This one, I've been using it since 2018. It is a Blue Yeti. Yeah, I think it's a Blue Yeti. And it's a fairly good microphone. And so I now get very particular about the audio because I like the way that it sounds over the on-camera audio. So that has changed. And then getting the lights, I think, last year. And I would use different versions of lamps and things before that. And especially when we moved to London, there was just the lighting was not good from the main lamps and stuff. And I'd always fiddle around with the lights at home in Norway as well, but you know, I've got a proper light set up now, which isn't the best, but at least looks better than what it does without the lights, I have to say. But I get really funny now about the way lighting looks and the audio and everything, so I can't just quickly make a video with Connie anymore. It has to be a big production, and so whenever I get her to carve out 20 to 30 minutes of her time to do a video is always really special to me, and I'm kind of grateful to her for doing that, because again, it's nice to see us together throughout the years, and you look at the way she sounded 10 years ago, the way I sounded 10 years ago, and it seems like different people. And when we looked so young back then, you know, so this is one of those things where it's nice to look back on when we're together in the videos. But right, so Norway, you know, 2015, 2016, and I did some of the silent movie marathons. I briefly mentioned that, never followed up on it, but I would do the silent movie marathons, which started with the Blu-ray Brothers channel, I think. and I love doing the silent movie skits. I really loved digging my creative teeth into those things. I think that my skit for the beginning of well, I really liked what I did with the skits on all of them actually, but the third one, which is me walking through the woods, and then I think that the cinematography is fairly nice, if I don't say so myself, and the music that I used, and then having this kind of this phantom character appear and then force me to watch. So I thought it was really good. I'm really proud of that skit and that opening for Silent Movie Marathon 3, more than maybe anything else. I think there's been some really good ones that I think are pretty good. I think a really special one for me in terms of skits in the movie marathon is Marathon 6, not only because it leads into Warwick Davis's appearance, but because it's me and my brother Tommy, and I start going back through all the previous marathons, like Back to the Future Part 2 style, from different perspectives, which was a lot of work. I'd have to go out into like the street and change my clothes so I could look like I looked in the video 3 years ago, and then film it from a different angle, then put the clothes back on and do it in the same shot. But then I went back in time to the point where I walked into my old childhood bedroom and saw myself in front of the legit like shelving unit that I had when I was a kid, with all the videos I had when I was a kid, and my brother Tommy was wearing the t-shirt that I had when I was that age, 11, and he was 11 when he filmed that. He looks completely different now, he sounds completely different. There he was, as a little 11-year-old kid. I think he was like 10 or 11 years old when we did that. Yeah, he was 11 years old, and he just turned 11, yeah. And we did this little scene together. We didn't do it together. I filmed his parts first, then mine separately. But that was something that a lot of people really enjoyed, and I threw this kind of bit of emotion in there. And people seem to really find that touching. So that's a really special thing that I did with my brother that is now immortalized in that video, and I think that's something really special to me. I started to do gaming videos in 2016, I think, because you could stream from the PS4. And I really enjoyed doing that, and I made some really good friends through that actually. And it's interesting how doing different things gets different eyes on the things that you do, and you speak to different people and stuff. And I've moved away from doing that a fair bit in recent time. I have my RazorwireReviews Plays channel. I don't really put anything on there these days, but I really enjoyed doing the Star Wars Battlefront live streams back in the day. Those were a lot of fun, and it was nice just to play some games and chat with people while you did. And I maybe leaned into it a bit too much and kind of moved away from what I really loved doing, which was the movie stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I did some good story playthroughs of like the Walking Dead games and The Last of Us, and I really loved going back to that last year to do The Last of Us Part 2 playthrough, which I did like offline because I was terrified of someone coming in and trying to spoil the game for me. So it was a lot of work to film my stuff separately and then link that together with the streamed footage, which still the quality wasn't where I wanted it to be, but you got my reaction to the full game, and that was something I was really glad to get for something that is one of the best cinematic gaming experiences of my entire life. I love The Last of Us Part 2 so much. If it was a movie, it might be my favorite movie. It's just one of those things that I'm so glad I got my first reactions to. And that's something that can be special too. And recently I've started watching a lot of people on YouTube doing reactions to movies for the first time, and I've almost considered taking my channel in that direction. I obviously don't have the kind of jumping off point that a lot of those channels do, which is I've never seen Star Wars for the first time, so people want to watch it, and I want to watch it. I love seeing people watch Star Wars for the first time and seeing their reactions to things, especially in the order that they watch them in, which can be different. But I know that video would take so long to edit, and I also know that isn't really me, because I wouldn't want to watch a video with lights on me, talking throughout the film. That's not me. I like to sit and just watch a film and really focus on it, So that wouldn't work for me. But I briefly considered about a year ago, thinking I could do some of those videos. It might be fun, maybe to do it with like older classic films or something. But it would be so much work, and I don't think people would really appreciate the effort. I don't think I would appreciate the effort, and I think that I wouldn't like to set up a good angle while I'm watching a film. It just seems the reverse of conducive to a good viewing experience, I think. So 2016, the gaming stuff. Yeah, 2017. What really happened that year? Not much really. Actually, no. I'll say 2017. I did Asian cinema season. So it was one of those things where like every October, the YouTube movie community gets together and does the the 31 Days of Horror, that kind of thing. And I enjoyed it, and I like embracing the horror films. I'm not the biggest horror movie guy, but I thought, what if I do my own version? But it's not horror movies, it's like Asian films, like films from Japan and Korea and going into broader Asian territory with like films from Iran and India, and so I loved doing that, and I spent a lot of time on that, and did loads of reviews, had guests on the channel. I really loved doing that, and it's all more just pushing forward my exploration into different areas of film, and I love doing that. Now there's the one thing I should say that I didn't get to in 2013 was the Epic Film Challenge 2. So we'd done the Epic Film Challenge, me and Connie watching 365 films in a year. I got the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, and I thought that'd be a good series. It'd be a long one, but it'd be a good one. So August 2013 I started the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. I'd watch every single film in that damn book, and at the end of the video I'd say, is it a film you should see before you die, in my opinion? Nice concept, right? So I thought I'd do that, and I'll give myself 5 years to do it, if I can finish it by the time I'm 30. Currently I'm now 32, and I think I've released about 270 videos. And I kind of boxed myself into a corner because very early on I started editing in pictures from the films, just to give you some visual context for the things I was talking about, and that adds to the editing time. If there was like no editing of like images and stuff, I probably would have done even more by now. And if I'd focused my channel entirely on the Epic Film Challenge 2, I think would have done it. But there's so many other things I'm interested in. I'm the type of person who gets obsessed with certain things in certain areas, so I can never fully focus on it, and I wish I would, and I love that series so much, and nothing gives me more pleasure. Well, actually I wouldn't say that, that's kind of a worn out phrase, but one of the things that gives me the most pleasure with my YouTube channel is hitting render on an episode of the Epic Film Challenge 2, because it's like, that's another one done, another one off the list. A path is formed by placing one stone at a time, and my path to that 1001st video in that series will be formed one video at a fucking time, and I will get there, unless I die young, which is possible, but in the event of that not happening, I will make it, and I will finish the damn series. But I get pulled in all these different directions and different interests. I did my David Lynch Fest in 2019, and that kind of fizzled out a little bit, but I loved the few videos I made for that and was really passionate about it. And so there's always things, and there's always series, many ill-fated series that I never finished, and all sorts of things. And I could just, again, talk about, there's so many things I can mention, but it would just make this video even more, I won't say narcissistic, because I don't think it is, but more narcissistic from a certain point of view. I think there are people out there who say, wow, you make a video that's 2+ hours long. At this point it's going to be longer than 2 hours. I'm just talking about yourself and your channel. Well, yeah, it's my channel. It's kind of why, it's like I said at the beginning, that a YouTube channel is a personally tailored video experience, And so what do you come back to a channel for if not the person who's making the videos? I don't know. I don't think there's real... Now, ego? Do I have an ego? Yeah, I think everyone has an ego. But I also think that it's pride in what you make. And I take a certain amount of pride in what I make. Some things I don't. Like a Blu-ray update video is nothing to me. I enjoy doing it. I like talking to people about the films that I talk about, but I don't take any pride in making those videos. I don't think there's anything accomplished in them whatsoever. I like making a video where I talk about a film and I have interesting things to say about it, and I have a perspective on it that I think maybe hasn't been considered by other people, and then I supplement that with images from the film in the correct parts of the video. And I take a lot of care in, like, okay, when do I start the image on screen? I want it to kind of nicely flow and not leave it up too long to where I'm talking about something else. And so I feel like that is an accomplished thing where I take pride in that kind of video. So there's different levels, but I've enjoyed collaborating with people over the years, but it's a fairly solitary experience, YouTube, I think. But I enjoy that. I enjoy just sitting away at my laptop and working away on videos and things like that when I get the time to do them. So 2017, Asian Cinema Season, I loved doing that. That was a big project for me, and that was a really fulfilling one. I think 2017 was that the year of, that was Marathon 6, yeah, that was a big one again. That was the one where Warwick Davis appeared, and that was a whole other story that I'll talk about in another video, I think. I mean, with the movie marathons, that could be a whole other video of me talking about the history of those things and how they grew and just grew out of control, I think, up to a point, and kind of, again, boxed me into a corner in terms of future movie marathons, because they're not going to be as epic as they used to be, because I'm not, I'm not working part-time anymore with online freelance work. And I actually got other work. I mean, I did the Joe Blow stuff online, and kind of gradually acquired more jobs per month and would get paid every quarter even more, but also managing certain things on their back end. I started getting into doing that stuff, but also I would get freelance video editing jobs with Arrow Video. I did a few things for them, and there was a few other little bits and pieces, so I would get these nice little pay packets from doing some editing work, which was really good, and maybe I should try and pursue that more. I don't know, but things are working out really well for me in terms of that, where for me it is pretty much 2 full-time jobs at the minute, so I think that where I'm at right now is fine. And you know, the one thing about YouTube, I think, is that if I'd never done it, I think that I probably, if I'd focused all my energy that I put into YouTube over these 10 years into filmmaking, I think I'd probably be in the film industry. I think if I'd focused all the energy I put into my YouTube channel over the past 10 years into writing and fulfilling my dream of having a book published, I think I'd be a published author right now. And that really stings, you know, because ultimately, what is a YouTube channel? Is it something I take pride in and I'm happy with the stuff that I've done? Yes. Would being a published author or being in the film industry be something that would impress other people more? Yes. Does that mean I'm then thinking about how I appear to other people as a way for validating myself? Yes. And that is not a good thing, you know? What are you really doing it for? I think ultimately, if you love what you do, and I love doing YouTube, it's worthwhile. I want to take some time to work on those other things. I think working in the film industry would not be for me. I'm a very lazy person, and I think I wouldn't work well on a film set with the hours that they work and everything. I would love to make movies. I love storytelling and films and cinema. And I considered maybe becoming a film critic, because I'm not. That's another thing I talk about. I've never considered myself a film critic, and you get these people sending comments in saying, like, you don't know anything about film. And it's like, well, maybe not. You know, what do you know? You know, oh well, I have a degree in. Okay, well, you do. I'm not sitting here saying that I know what I'm talking about. It's just my opinions as an average person, and obviously I will talk about things and say it's like this film, and you know, the technique they used here, and that's just me picking up things as I go along throughout my entire life of being fascinated in the filmmaking process. From the very beginning, I've always been like, oh, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO on the back of this, so someone is inside the suit then. George Lucas, so he's the director, right? Okay, so he's doing these new CGI effects for the special editions, so that's how those films are made. And now the Lord of the Rings documentaries come out, and I just absorb myself in those making of documentaries and get fascinated at how these films get made. So I pick up all this knowledge, but I don't think all the knowledge makes me someone who you know, has an authority on anything. But you know, you get that stuff of, and there are some people who do consider themselves critics on YouTube. I think some of them think that more than they should. I think some of them think it, and they kind of they put stuff out that really supports that. And I think that it's a completely valid form of being a critic if you just make video reviews, but you really need to dedicate yourself to that. And a lot of people do, and all power to them. But I don't think that because I review films and have been doing for a very long time, I don't consider myself a critic. But I once thought maybe I could. Maybe I could be a critic and give a more kind of general approach to it, and not be so wordy and kind of, you know, get deep into, you know, all this kind of stuff. I like the Roger Ebert approach, where it's more relatable, down to earth, in a way that you can easily understand and relate to emotionally, and there's just and psychologically, you know, there's just a clear-cut style. I really loved his reviews. Many times I'll watch a film and I'll look up, did Roger Ebert ever review this, and I'll look at it and go, right on the money, or not, but I appreciated the way that he expressed himself. And if I can do that, if I can do, you know, reviews that people enjoy in that sense, and that's actually really one of the biggest takeaways from doing YouTube for me now, and has been for many years, is when I'll get a message from someone or a comment saying, you know, about maybe a film that I reviewed in the video that they comment on, or just a random like update. Hey, I saw you talk about this film 2 years ago, whatever it was. It'll be, I saw you talk about this and I went and watched it and I loved it. And then I watched more from that filmmaker, so thank you. That to me is huge, because I know what that feels like, to see someone make a video and go, oh, that sounds like a good film. You go watch it and you're like, this is like my favorite thing, or this is something I'd never heard of before, and you feel grateful for the person to introducing it for you, and that's such a great feeling to pay that stuff forward. You know, there's been a couple of people who have told me that they love silent films, and that comes from my films, my videos on silent films, because I really started leaning into that. That's huge to me. I love that, because I love silent films. I think more people should watch them, more people should talk about them, And if I can influence someone without being there going, okay, here's the Buster Keaton film, and you really need to watch this, you know, I don't do that. I just say, this was great. And then the byproduct of that is someone goes and kind of does the work themselves to find those films and watch them, and I think it's great. I love that. I think it's really, really cool. I loved seeing Ian at Forkable, kind of, you know, a guy who loves action movies and stuff, and Disney films, and then he started kind of branching out and watching silent films, getting into Chaplin. And I just loved seeing, and I'm not saying that I was, you know, responsible for that, because he worked very closely with collaboration videos and stuff, and a collaboration channel, I think, with James, DVD Collector, 1974, and so they kind of spurred each other on. But to see Ian's growth of looking at different films, and then he formed his like culture shelf, which I thought was awesome. It's just great to see. You know, and seeing people really stretch themselves out as I stretch myself out and continue to do so all the time. It's just fun, it's exciting. Exploring the world of cinema is awesome, you know, and so that's, you know, that's been a huge part of YouTube, is seeing that, experiencing that, and hearing about it. And that's one of the coolest things, when someone tells me, like, I can't remember, and it might not even be that they've discovered the film because of you, but it might be that, oh, I've never seen anyone talking about this, and I enjoyed just seeing a review of it, so thank you. You know, but I think one that really, really pleased me was someone saw one of my Naoko Ogigami reviews and said that I went to watch this film and I love her movies. I thought, that is fantastic. There's a filmmaker who I really enjoy and no one really talks about their films, and I kind of, again, inadvertently influenced someone to go see it. That's, you talk about like social media influencers. Oh, buy this, and oh, do this, and use this product. It's like, I like being a social media influencer of movies. Like, I really love that. It's really cool, but it's obviously not like, you know, hashtag ad. It's like I'm being paid to do it all, you know, and in cases of like the Arrow Video sending me titles to review and stuff, that is a form of that, I suppose, but I just love when that happens. And the Naoko Ogigami thing was great, because, I mean, whoever talks about her films, you know. And that was another, so I'll kind of segue here from 2017 into 2018, the year of hell almost. And amidst all that horrible stuff was one of the best friendships that I found through YouTube, and that's with Daisuke. I had heard someone commenting on my channel saying, because I think I made a Criterion video, and someone said, did you know there's a guy who has all of the Criterions in his collection? I thought, fuck off, there's no one with all the Criterions in the collection, there's no way. No, there's a guy called Daisuke, and so I tried to find him, but I couldn't. A couple of months later I thought, I'm really intrigued to see if that's real, so I looked him up and I found him. Found his channel. This Japanese guy with impeccable English, even better English and enunciation than me, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. You know, and the collection was impressive, but I stayed for the guy, and the way he talked about films, and the passion that he had, and the presentation that he had. I'm almost intrigued to see how Daisuke, well, I kind of know because I've talked to him privately on video, and there is a difference between the way he presents a video and him just talking free flow. There was actually one time where we did a live stream together, or we did a recorded collaboration together on a Studio Ghibli film, and then afterwards we talked for like an hour about films and Twin Peaks, and we had a real laugh, and it was really great stuff, and I made like an after hours video to post, and he was uncomfortable with it because he wasn't aware that it was still recording, which is fine, but I guess that for him, again, it's kind of like a presentation, and it's kind of almost a performance, and he is so great at being a presenter on his channel. And so, but either way, like, just meeting him was great, and just saying, hey, I love your videos, and I kind of mentioned him and said, you guys should check him out, and now he's far outstripped me, as he should, because the amount of content he puts out is staggering, and the amount of depth and detail he goes into is far beyond anything I could ever imagine or aspire to, but that's okay, because that's his thing, and he does that best. And I have my thing, and I do it pretty well, I think, in terms of the videos that I make. And it shouldn't be like, well, I'm not like him exactly. You know, you shouldn't be. Everyone should be different and do their own thing. But, you know, I've loved seeing him get so much success that he really deserves for the effort that he puts in, far more effort than I do. I think that it's, all of his success has been well deserved. But meeting him, and he'd send me these audio messages on Facebook, it's like, oh, you know, this is very personal, you know, very, very kind of forthcoming, but I was really enjoying. We'd send these audio messages back and forth, get to know each other. And there was a job that I had when we moved to London, just outside London, and there was this job that turned up that saved my fucking life. And I will never forget the day that I started that job. he'd asked me, you know, can we video chat so we can kind of see each other face to face? And I said, yeah, okay. And I was about to leave my first day of this job, and we had a quick chat. He was having, I think, his breakfast in his house or his flat, wherever he lives. And we just had a quick chat. It was very nice, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to start a new job, and I'm kind of nervous." He's like, "You're going to be great. This is you're going to do so well." And you know, it's kind of the generic kind of, you know, things that you say to someone to make them feel better about, you know, approaching something that might seem daunting. But I remember going into that workplace with a spring in my step that he'd been so nice for someone who wasn't even really that good of a friend yet. And it really set me off on the day. It started the job off really well, and that job ended up, you know, kind of, again, quote unquote, saving my life at the time. It was so dire, the situation there. And I won't, again, I can make a whole video about that year in just outside London. It was in Surrey we lived, and that job just came out of nowhere and just saved me, because I was languishing, and things were getting really bad. Mentally, you know, I experienced anxiety for the first time in my life, and that's something I'm trying to touch on with the skits in 24-hour movie marathon 8, is to represent that year of my life and how anxiety colored it and my negative thoughts. And I hope that comes out well in the final thing, but I'm really unsure about it. But that's something I enjoy doing with the skits and my videos, is trying new things and seeing if they work, and if they don't, I think that's really important, is to try new things and to really push yourself out there. Anyway, so Daisuke's encouragement was really helpful at that point, and then we just became better friends. And then I said to him, you know, because, you know, you're Japanese, have you heard of the filmmaker Naoko Ogigami? He said no. I was like, oh, well, she makes really great films. I think you should give them a watch if you get the chance. So Daisuke being Daisuke, he went out and bought her entire back catalogue, and I thought, holy shit, you bought all her films. I said, well, do you want to like do a series together, and we'll review them? And that kind of became part of Asian Cinema Season 2, which I released in late 2019. And I worked on that series for a whole year of preparing videos. And the first thing I did really was that collaboration with Daisuke. We did reviews of all of her films. So kind of he would talk about it, I would talk about it. He would review the films that I couldn't watch because there's no available English subtitles, and he could fill in all the gaps. So we had a complete review of her entire filmography. This fairly obscure director who doesn't get a lot of attention. And, you know, he'd never heard of her films before. He went and watched them and really enjoyed them. And I loved that happened, you know, and I got to introduce him to something. And he's seen so many more films than I have, and is so knowledgeable on so many different areas of films, from, you know, foreign cinema and world cinema, all sorts of stuff, and even mainstream Hollywood. What I love about Daisuke is that he loves almost everything. He loves the big, you know, Hollywood movies and kind of blockbusters and stuff, and James Bond movies, but he also loves, like, you know, really like experimental films and art films and world cinema. He has such a great positive, you know, approach to films, and positive approach to his channel as well. But you know, I could talk for ages about Daisuke and about my other friends, but he, you know, the fact that I can call him a friend, I think for me is really cool. I love the guy dearly, and we've done some other collaborations together. The Studio Ghibli series, I love doing that with him, but it takes a lot of time. So and there's lots of things like that, and I've done collaborations and live streams with people like Matt Castatui. I love doing some of those with him back in the day. He doesn't really make, well, actually he hadn't made videos for a while, but he recently resurfaced. I don't think he's going to be doing movie videos, but that's another thing you learn to get used to, is people coming and going, you know, and in certain cases they come and go a lot. In some cases they come, they go, and then you don't hear anything from them for years, and you don't know what's happened, and that's the way YouTube goes sometimes, and it is what it is. But you meet really cool people, and it comes out of the most unexpected places. Daisuke started interviewing a lot of people in the past couple of years, and so I've spoken to some of those people and said, hey, I really liked the interview that you gave on Daisuke's channel, and we'll get talking about common things. And sometimes you don't speak to those people again, because it's just one of those things. Sometimes you make a good friend like Vanessa, who I still speak to, and I think that it's just nice when you get a community of people who are just nice people and like talking about movies. And the cool thing about the internet is you can kind of personally tailor, you know, obviously your YouTube channel, as I said earlier, but also you can tailor the people that you interact with, you know, and the people who you maybe don't like interacting with, you just stop interacting with them, and it is what it is, you know. And sometimes those friendships, they fizzle and fade out. Sometimes they get stronger. Sometimes they lay dormant, and then you'll speak to them again, and it's like no time has passed, or you just don't speak to them again. It can happen. One person I really, you know, should have mentioned sooner And this really colors like 2016, 2017 for me, and that's CP from Willie Screedia, formerly Will I Like It Reviews. And that's an interesting thing, is that, you know, with CP I first became aware of his channel through a big drama he was going through at the time. Everyone was talking about it, and there was a lot of buzz around it, and so I thought, alright, I'll see what's going on here. And people were saying, this guy's a prick from what he said about this guy. And I looked into it, and CP made this like explanation video. And I watched it, and I thought, yeah, people are overblowing this a little bit, but at the same time, what you're saying is a little bit contra. I can't remember what it was, but there's something about it I didn't agree with what he said. And I commented that, and I said, well, you know, really, what you're saying there doesn't really add up. And I was expecting him to either say, go fuck yourself, or to just ignore the comment. You leave a comment on something like that, and you move on with your day. And he replied to it. And he said, yeah, that's fair enough, you've got a good point there. And then we started talking. And then we started talking even more, and I really liked the guy. I thought he was really funny, and he seemed to think I was funny, I guess, because I'd make him laugh a lot. We'd Skype very often, and that kind of grew, and then he moved to Denmark, and that was a whole other thing, and there was a lot going on in his life then. There continues to be a lot going on in his life now. And then, you know, there was just many nights just staying up late on Skype, just laughing about bullshit, and that was a really great friendship for a while there. Not to say that it isn't now, but again, we've drifted apart. You know, he has his own friend circle, and people like Brian, you know, Brian Lomax. I love Brian as well, and Peter, you know, the bearded movie guy who, you know, again, I don't talk to very much. We have that kind of the Welsh connection there, and he's a really nice guy too. And you know, sometimes there's just really nice guys who you really like, but you don't talk to them all that often, and that's okay. There's only so much time you can allow for certain friendships and things. And the same with Brian Lomax. You know, I love the guy, but we don't talk all that often, and he has his own group with CP and Cody Leach and all that kind of thing, and part of me feels like I should be more involved in that, but no, it's just naturally splintered that way, and that's kind of the way it should go. You shouldn't force these things, I don't think. And then there was someone else, Graham from Man v Film, who I kind of met through Brian, and we did some podcasts together, and he's kind of my like Blu-ray buddy. We talk a lot about the new Blu-ray releases and stuff, and he's a really good friend too. So you get all these good friends, but CP, you know, that 2016-2017 period, even though he was going through a really shitty, you know, time, I really valued that friendship, and it was a really, really nice part of my life. That you know, I was living in Norway, loving life there, and really good times. But with CP, I just enjoyed being a close friend of his for that time, and trying to be supportive and trying to help him out by making him laugh. And I'd make all these ridiculous videos. I spent so much time editing videos just purely for CP's amusement, and anything I could do to get the dying pig laugh, as I called it. When you get CP to laugh like a pig that's slowly dying, you know you've really got him, and it was like a real success to get that laugh. But you know, I think that we'll always share a bond over that particular time, but we've certainly grown apart a bit. And then Emily, who's now his wife, you know, and I remember when him and Emily would Skype together, and it was clear at times that I was perhaps the third wheel, and I kind of recognized it, and I kind of was enjoying kind of dragging out my participation in the call, knowing that they probably wanted to talk together. I didn't think that it would end up the way that it does, but it's so great that YouTube brought them together, and that they have each other at the moment with things that are rough for them. So, you know, and I love Emily too, and I really enjoy talking to Emily, and she often, as she probably does for many people, pops up in my Facebook inbox with a whole bunch of memes and stuff. She's the meme queen, I guess. But yeah, I'd really love to meet CP. I'd love to meet Emily. Hopefully one day it can happen, and I hope that better days are ahead for those guys. I love those guys, and you know, just that time period with CP I hold very, very dear to my heart, and it was fun. And we do cameos in each other's videos, and he was spurred on by my movie marathons, and you know, so I like that stuff where you're pushing each other with your videos and stuff, and that's kind of a really fun, you get like a healthy, friendly competition, I think. And that was, you know, yeah, so CP, couldn't not mention him, love CP. And right, so we're going, I went to 2018, and the move to London from Norway, and then we, you know, they didn't work out, and we came back, and I, you know, so there's so many things I could talk about, and I've talked about a lot at this point, obviously, but I feel like it should wind down at this point. And then finally we came back here, and things got better, you know, and it wasn't there was anything going on between me and Connie. I think our relationship has always been strong. It's been tested by outside, you know, not influences, but outside elements, I suppose, and the situations we've been in. But you know, we always have each other, and that's really important. And but things just really eased. We got a bit of a break in 2019. And then 2020 happened, and what the fuck? And 2021 is looking to be, you know, hopefully a lot different. But yeah, I mean, 2020, what is there worth talking about with that year at all? You know, I released the John Carpenter 24-hour movie marathon, which I was super happy with. Not even from the skits, which I think are pretty good, but and getting to film in local cinema for that ending was just like, I was so grateful for Ben, who allowed me to go and film a skit inside an actual fucking cinema. That was almost like a dream come true that I never knew I had. Didn't turn out very well because I had 30 minutes to film it, and trying to laugh on cue for a skit when you have like 10 minutes on the clock, one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my entire life, and I did it terribly at that. It wasn't convincing, I kind of hated that, but you know, we got footage of me in a cinema, it's kind of cool, you know, whatever. But just the footage of me talking about all those John Carpenter films, that was a situation where I felt like it really flowed well. And the content of me talking about films for 6 hours, I think, really worked well. Whereas the Zatoichi marathon, I felt like it was a bit uneven and I didn't have much to say, maybe for some of the 26 films I talked about. The John Carpenter one I felt like was a really nice finished product that I was really proud of. So, you know, you get those every now and then, which, you know, makes it worth it. And even if it doesn't get a lot of comments, you know. And that's the thing, sometimes I make a video, I'm really happy with it, and even if there's no real response, it's like, I really like that. You know, I really like that. And there's a lot of videos I make that I don't really like, so it goes back and forth. I'm not this, again, narcissist who's like, everything I touch is brilliant. But, you know, I think it's important to allow yourself to be proud of the things that you do. You know, even if they aren't perfect. And nothing I've made is perfect. Nothing anyone makes is perfect, really. But you should allow yourself to kind of, you know, yeah, I did a good job there. You know, stuff like that. There's been so many film discoveries throughout this 10 years that have been, and so many great film experiences that probably wouldn't have happened if I wasn't a YouTuber. And there are certain things where you go, well, that would make a good video, or that would make a good review series, and you push yourself to watch things that you probably wouldn't watch otherwise, you know. I'm doing this Conquering My Collection series, and that is pushing me to watch more films that I own in my collection. I obviously wanted to watch because I bought them at some point, but I have so many films in my collection that you get overwhelmed with the selection, and that becomes a thing. I collected all the Eureka Masters of Cinema Blu-rays, and part of that was because it was a good thing to talk about on my channel in my videos. So you do get those things where, admittedly, you start looking at, oh, if I bought that, it would make a good video, right? I mean, there's certainly you get into the dicey territory of, am I just buying something to make a video and show it off? Sometimes you are, you know, and it's okay to recognize that. But for me, you know, there's always a reason. Like, it'd be cool to buy that and then show it in a video and maybe do like a review series on it or something like that, and then make something out of it, get some content out of it for the channel. But it's also something I really want to watch, or something I'm intrigued to check out and see if I'll like. There's never been something I've bought in my collection where I haven't been interested, like a fancy steelbook of a film that I'm not too fond of, you know. And that was a whole trend, the steelbook trend. I'm glad to be out of that. And there are some people who collect those steelbooks like crazy, and it's mental, you know. But I've definitely like double dipped, triple dipped on things that I think, yeah, actually that's probably something where maybe I've done some of the triple dipping on like the Dark Knight steelbooks, and it's like, maybe that is more for the channel, you know, and it isn't really because I really want that. I don't need it, you know. So there's been a few instances for sure. I'm not completely guilt-free there. Man, there's so many things. I'm still fucking annoyed at the thing an hour ago where I talked about moving back and forth through different countries, and I forgot what the bloody point of that anecdote was, or the story, or the thread, the train of that conversation. It's not really a conversation, it's a monologue. I'm just here on my own. Wow, I've talked myself into circles. Where do you really go from here? That's one thing here that I just found as I was looking through my clothes earlier, and I thought I'd show it on here. It's the Ryan's Cinematic Obsessions t-shirt, which I wore in 24-hour movie marathon 6. Yeah, so there's just been great friends, there's been fallouts and dramas and conflicts and certain things where I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have said this or said that, but I don't feel like I've been outwardly horrible to anyone, and so I feel alright in that. And you do have to kind of carefully approach online friendships, I think. And that I mean that's a given in life, you know. You just kind of, you got to feel people out, but it can be more difficult on YouTube because there is more of a pretense in front of the screen sometimes, and it's hard to see beyond that. And I think unless you really get on Skype with someone, or and you have like a face-to-face conversation for a long time, like me and CP would be on Skype for hours sometimes, and we just bullshit, and you really get a feel for how someone is when they're just completely relaxed, and that's when you really see the true person, I think. And so that's when I think you can, it's okay to let your guard down in those situations, and you can really become good friends with them. But I definitely feel I've become not less personable, but the more I do this, especially recently, not that it's become a means to an end, but I feel like I'm not actively looking for like friends at the moment, which isn't the case. Of course, I love speaking to people about movies, but it's almost like I keep taking one step back from the kind of like, hey, let's become friends, let's all talk about movies and get a community together and going. In the comments, great, and I have a lot of great like regular commenters. I don't want to name people because there's so many, and but I love the guys who do stick around year after year and leave really insightful comments. And sometimes I don't have anything to say, I'll just hit the like button to say I really enjoyed that comment. But it's nice to have an audience, but it's nice to have, and it is a community, I guess. And I get reticent of. I'd never like to call my viewers fans. I know some people say that. I think that's like an icky thing. I don't quite get in with that, and I think isn't that like the thing on YouTube now where you become a member? That feels more fitting, a member of the channel. But it's more like a community than it's fan. It just seems to conjure up images of worshipping or looking up to someone. I don't think that really should happen in the realm of YouTube, especially not in the YouTube movie community, to say the least. I mean, that's the thing, but I do say I'm a big fan of Zaron Isaac, I suppose, but I don't know. I think addressing your viewers as fans maybe sounds a bit weird and odd to me, but it is nice to have loyal viewers, I'll call them, and kind of frequent commenters, because the comments are great, well, they're not always great. Good comments are great, it's great to get good comments and to get conversations going and things like that. But yeah, so there's been ups and downs throughout the channel and stuff, and I definitely think I'm winding down at this point, and apologies if the meandering has been too much to take. And it's going to bug me forever what I was trying to say when I said I've moved back and forth, and well, yeah, you've seen my life kind of progress, and you've seen me change, I suppose, and again, long hair, short hair, fat, thin, fat again, living in different countries, different eras, different periods, it's all captured in some way. And what I love about the movie marathons is those feel like proper time capsules, whereas like a review I made about a film in Norway. Yeah, it's nice to go, oh, I filmed that in Norway. But the movie marathon, like the camera's moving around, you're seeing the flat, you see us going to the shops, there's more of an overall experience capturing the vibe of the place that we lived in, and I enjoy that. But even when it's like a rough year like 2018, I'm glad I have videos from that time period to show me the brave face I was putting on in some of those videos when life was really shit, or to show the times when I genuinely really enjoyed living there, actually, and there were good things. And you take more steps back sometimes, I think, maybe as you get older, or maybe it's just I become more, my guard goes up a bit more, I suppose, because I wish that I would have done the vlogs continuously, because they're even more interesting to me to watch than just movie review stuff, because then you're really seeing the life things happen. But I'm not as comfortable sharing that stuff anymore, I guess. And again, maybe that's age, but I think it's also down to personal preference, because many people at my age and older do lots of vlogs and they're very open and transparent. But yeah, looking back at the beginning to now, things have changed hugely. There's so many wrestling videos I wish I could. That's the only thing now, is that I don't have the time. When I lived in Norway, I had time. I had so much time. I didn't know what to do with it, and I wasted so much of that time in not doing things. And you get so lazy, I think, when you got nothing, when you got no day job. Days blend into each other, and it's tricky. And I struggled with not being the sole breadwinner. Not even winning any bread at all, not even a crumb. And I remember talking to my granddad about that when I came home, and I remembered it. Hallelujah, thank fuck. Okay, so moving back and forth and all of that. I think this is what I was trying to say. I was going to talk about. So when I lived in Norway, I would come home every few months or so to Wales to see my family. And I feel like now that I live here, yes, this is what I was going to say. Now that I live home in Wales and I can go see my family, well, I can't really because of the pandemic. I can kind of, see them at the door or whatever, but in theory, I can within walking distance, I can see many members of my family. My mum, my dad, he's moved a little bit further away, but I can see my dad fairly easily. My stepmom, my brother, my sister, my nan and my granddad, my other nan, my auntie, my uncle, my 2 cousins, they're all in the same town pretty much. I don't see them very often. My friends, who I would sometimes go a couple of years without seeing because I lived in Norway, I'd come home for a week and I'd have to see family, then I'm off again. My friends who have kind of splintered off even further, I don't really see them that often. The last time I was truly out with a certain group of my friends was 2019. We went to Cardiff to see the Takeover NXT event, and we came back, went to the pub, was like, we should hang out more. Never did again. Obviously the pandemic kind of impedes on that, and I make efforts and I meet up with my friends and stuff, but now that I'm here, you take it for granted. I kind of miss having a week or two here in Wales where it's so heightened and I have to go see my family, I have to spend time with them, and I savor it more. I almost miss that. And now that I'm with Connie all of the time, and it was the same when we were in a long distance relationship, when me and Connie didn't live together, the times we go and visit each other, it was such a fucking amazing week of just pure love, and everything was just so much more heightened, and you feel devastated when you say goodbye and you're in tears and choked up and stuff, and then you go home and it's it's not the same without you, and then you'd see them again, you'd look forward to it, and it felt like an amazing thing. And then you live together and it's much different. But my dad would ask me when I'd go home, when I was living in Norway and I still wasn't working, I had no side jobs or anything like the online freelance stuff, and my dad was like, "You alright? How's it going?" And I'd say, it's going alright. It's not the best, but every day me and Connie make each other laugh, and that's kind of a day well spent, I think. And that's something that I've thought about a lot. And obviously not literally every day we laugh or make each other laugh, but pretty close. Ultimately, that's kind of, for me, that's kind of a good life, And I can look at my channel, I can think, oh my god, I could have done so much with it. I don't have a career really, obviously I work with video editing and stuff. Is that really a career? I don't know. It's not, there's ways you can look back on the things that you've done and the things that you haven't done. And for me, YouTube has taken up such a big chunk of my life, and I definitely see the next 10 years being completely different. I'm going to have to scale back. In my heart, I would love to be back in Norway making videos every day. I'd love to do that. And there's so many videos about wrestling I'd like to make right now because I'm in a big wrestling mood right now, and it would have tied in perfectly with the way the channel began, but I don't have the time, and I know that more people who follow me like the movie stuff, so it would fall on deaf ears, I suppose. Not that I would be opposed to it, because again, variety is the spice of my channel, as Zaron Isaac once said, and I fully support that as my own kind of ideology behind my channel. But there is just only a certain amount of hours in the day when you're working, and adult life is in the way. So moving forward, I think that I want to focus more on finishing my novel, which I wrote in 2015 and finished in 2016. I need to do a second draft of, and I want to shop that around. I want to get that published. That's my life's dream, is to get a book published and available in a shop to buy, a physical book. I mean, you can self-publish, but I want it to be properly published. That's a huge dream of mine. Would I love to be a film director? Of course, but I don't think I'd adjust well to the lifestyle. Same as wrestling. I think that if I had properly trained, committed my life to wrestling, I think I would have been a really successful wrestler. But I would hate the lifestyle, So my life, I look at it and it's me, it's Connie, and it's, hopefully a family in the future, and it's watching movies and enjoying them and talking about them and making silly movie marathons, and that's nice. I enjoy that, it is what it is, and I'm just not a very ambitious person, I don't think, but I want to follow certain things in different directions, and to do that I will have less time for YouTube. So moving forward, my channel's never going to be the same as it was in 2014 and 15. It's never going to be the same as it was in 2020. It's always going to be changing, but I always want to, post videos. But know that if I do disappear at some point, it's going to happen eventually. I can't keep it up forever. As long as there is a YouTube around, as long as this channel stays online, I will post videos. I will come back eventually. And I want to finish the Epic Film Challenge too. That's going to take a lifetime. And I will always do the 24-hour movie marathon every year. I'll find a way to do it, and I'll find a way to post a video for it. I just need to get caught up now with 8, 9, and 10. But eventually I'll get there. And there's the Twin Peaks series that I loved doing. I filmed that in 2017. I spent the 3 weeks that I had home in Wales watching all of Twin Peaks, and I filmed my videos like throughout the whole process. It's fascinating to see my first reactions to a show that I love so much now. And I'd love to go back and finish that. So there's certain things that I've left unfinished that, I need to do. And I wanted to finish for this 10-year anniversary month, but the James Cameron series came up and took up 6 months of my time in terms of preparing and researching and filming and editing and posting. So, but I like that. I like it when certain things come along and surprise me, and I get really into it. And I loved making that James Cameron series, and I'm really thankful that people watched it and that some people quite enjoyed it. One thing I didn't mention was in 2016, my entire channel was deleted. I woke up one day, channel was gone. Couldn't sign in. I thought, oh, is the internet down? No, your channel has been removed because of multiple copyright strikes, and it was some of the gaming playthroughs I'd done, and they just nuked my channel from orbit. It was the only way to be sure, clearly. But apparently on the back end of YouTube, there is like a 2-day period or something, at least back then, 5 years ago, that it could be reinstated if the proper kind of case was made. And so I put forward my case to YouTube, and this is a wrongful deletion. I've always kind of towed the line and done things right and everything, and accepted copyright claims when they came in, and have let those be monetized. I've never challenged stuff, even though sometimes I should have. And they reinstated my channel around my birth date that year, and it was like, and I was suddenly thinking, do I start again? And I think I was getting to the point where I was thinking, I'm just going to keep going. I have all the videos for the most part, but it would have been a shame to lose all the comments and all the history, that's kind of baked into everything on my channel. Maybe it'll happen one day, you never know. And so that's why I tried to keep hold of everything. And I'm now now the 10-year anniversary is here, I'm now trying to find everything and put it all onto one big 4TB hard drive, or at least multiple 4TB hard drives, just to kind of figure everything out. I'm now going through like 2011 archives and trying to find everything and catalog everything. That's going to take ages as well on top of everything else, but it's something I should have done from the beginning, really, but it is what it is. And I remember in 2013 I moved to Norway, and I thought I'm going to have so much more time for organizing. I'm going to get everything organized, and just never did. I'm such a lazy procrastinator at times, as I wonder I get anything fucking done. But yeah, so moving forward, things might change. I might disappear for a while. I might disappear for even longer. But just know that as long as there is a YouTube, as long as there is my channel is up, and even if there isn't, I'll always come back, because there'll always be something to talk about. I can't imagine a point in my life where I won't want to make a video about something. This is part of me now, and it wasn't 10 years ago. And it was, I've evolved in confidence, I think, in front of the camera. I think I'm a fairly good presenter on camera. My personality might not be to everyone's taste, and that is completely subjective, but I think as far as getting my point across, I think I do it fairly well. And so, I've grown into that, and it's taken time, and it's something I love doing, and I can't imagine a life where I don't do it. I can imagine a life where I don't do it as often as I used to, but not doing it full stop, that would be weird. I don't know about that. I don't know if I wouldn't like that, so why would I stop doing it, But, again, just, and I've been saying this for about 3 years now, that a break is coming, and it hasn't happened yet, but it will be coming at some point. And when it does, don't panic. I will be back at some point. It's not happening anytime soon. I just filmed like 10 videos this week, because I kind of took a month off for the Cameron. Once the Cameron series was done, it was nice to just kind of relax, but getting back into it has been a bit of an adjustment, so you do feel a bit rusty when you haven't made a video for a while. But here I am talking for 2.5 hours. I thought it was be a 90-minute video. I knew that was just I knew that wasn't going to happen. But my back is telling me I need to stop sitting in this chair now and get on with the rest of my night. But thank you for watching. If you have listening, I think you probably listen. A lot of my videos are good listening material. I don't think people want to look at my face for 2 hours or whatever. Yeah, it hasn't been as comprehensive as it could have been. There's other videos I could have talked about and stuff, and probably people I've met and stuff. There's all sorts of stories. And when I was in, I didn't mention, when I was in the States for WrestleMania 30, I got to meet Sean Blackford, and that was nice. We didn't really talk that much, but it was nice to briefly see him here and there. After kind of the Sean Blackford, bit of a twat video, which is just cracks. I might re-upload that, but then again, he might not be comfortable with that. I don't know, but it's just, and it's funny to see a lot of the videos I've deleted, and some of them were just so useless. You know, like an 11-second video I uploaded saying Macho Man Randy Savage passed away. He's a legend. He'll be missed. I wasn't a Macho. I think I even said in the video I've never been a big fan. It's like, well, why say anything then, you fucking idiot? You know, I felt like I needed to because I was I was trying to be part of the YWC. You know, so there's been regrettable moments or things that you've looked at and gone, oh my god, you've unlisted the video or taken it down or whatever, and obviously the aforementioned, the gay kind of phrase and how I misused that so badly when I was younger. But yeah, that's all a learning experience as YouTube is, and I look forward to the future and the next 10 years, and hopefully some fun stuff, you know, just more movie reviews and things. And I've done things that I've really enjoyed and have found a lot of pride in, like the 2013 in cinema and 2014 in cinema montage videos I made, which were like clips from all the films of that year that I really enjoyed in a big mashup, and that was like, took so much time, but they were really great final products. I wanted to do one every year, but you just start losing time, and my brain is so scattered. I start doing this series and that series, and a lot of these things I don't kind of fully follow through on. So if you follow me for long enough, you know that's kind of the drill, and you know to expect these things. And what those things you know to expect, I really couldn't tell you because I had to take a break there. I was like, what was the last thing I said? You know to expect these things, I think. And I have no idea what I was fucking talking about. I had to cave, I had to give my back a break, go and pee, get another drink of water, but there's been cuts throughout this video. I want to do it in one take, but you know, sometimes you get something caught at the back of your throat, and that's not nice to leave in the video. So I think I was talking about how, you know, it was nice when you appreciate the time with your family, I think, and how heightened that all is. No, that was before, wasn't it? Just generally wrapping up, and I was flicking through while I took the quick break all my videos. It's funny because I scrolled right down to the bottom, which took about 10 minutes on my phone, and I was going through videos and going, oh, I could mention that. I'll just note that down, and I go back to the page and it reloads to the top again. And it took about 10 minutes to scroll to the bottom. So there's so many things, and I'm sure no one really cares, but you know, there's just lots I could talk about in terms of like videos I've done, series that I haven't finished properly and things like that, and all of the changes that YouTube have gone through, from, you know, the Google Plus takeover. Back in the day, you'd have your YouTube channel page would be like custom, you can make your own background and stuff. That was a lot of fun. Then they changed it so there's just one uniform, bland, boring white thing, which we have now, and that's kind of like really, it was horrible and disgusting at first, and then you just get used to it, and it is what it is, right? But the Google Plus changes, and then the Google Plus Hangouts are really fun. Then they got rid of those. The Google Plus social media platform just died on its ass. The video response function was fantastic, and they got rid of that. There's just been all these changes, and you weather through all of those, and you just learn to kind of live with them. The live premiere system is something I've really enjoyed that they've implemented in the past couple of years. Thumbnails, I remember, was a big deal when I could finally do my own thumbnails, and I love putting together cool thumbnails and things like that. And I think that my channel would benefit greatly in views if I had myself in the thumbnails, like. And I do pull the kind of the goofy faces with the Blu-ray updates and stuff. And that's partially poking fun at the whole thing, but at the same time, I want people to watch the videos. But you know, when it's like a movie review, I like just having a nice still from the movie, and nicely framed, and like the kind of a nice bit of text or something. And I know I'd get another 50, 100, 150 views if there's me on the front going like this, like or ooh, or ah, you know, just all the different emotions. And I get why people do it. It just doesn't feel like it's me, you know. So I lose out on those views, because if it's just like a still from a movie, and you know, so and so movie review, it doesn't immediately jump out as a video that I've made. And you obviously have loads of different, you know, people you subscribe to who make similar videos probably, and so you're not going to see that it's mine immediately. But sometimes I just don't like doing that, you know. Some cases I will in special circumstances, but I like having nice, cool looking thumbnails that are just the movie sometimes. One thing I didn't mention that I think, well, I've done like live streams with people and stuff like that, but I started doing like the film interview things, and I kind of took a bit of that from Daisuke with Can Film Save My Life. I did 2 episodes of that I really enjoyed with Ryan Chataway and Chris from CM42 TV, and there's a whole story about why I kind of stopped doing that. And you can find it somewhere if you even care. You probably don't. But I did my first ever legitimate interview about 6-7 months ago. I had Paul Hirsch on my channel, and I kind of hoped it would got done even better than it did, but I think it did a good like 500 views, which is pretty good for my channel. But I had on the channel for an hour talking about movies, an Oscar-winning film editor, the guy who edited Star Wars, the guy who edited The Empire Strikes Back, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Mission Impossible, Carrie, you know, some of these classics from Brian De Palma, the Star Wars movies, the guy who edited Planes, Trains and Automobiles, some of my favorite movies, Footloose, some of these classic movies from the 80s, and you know, just one of the all-time great film editors, and I managed to just speak to him and figure out an interview, and we might do part 2 this year as well. I've spoken to him about that, and I actually watched, and I talk about this in another video at some point that'll come out soon after this video, but I recently watched Falling Down, and he edited that film, and I was able to, after I watched the film, send him an email, and we had a little chat about it. So there are these certain things that if you really put yourself out there, then you can have these really cool experiences, and that was certainly not something that I gained by having a successful YouTube channel. Sometimes you just need to do the work, you know, no one's going to call you, that kind of mentality, you know, and so if you do the dig, it's same with the Warwick Davis cameo, you know, I got that by finding a way and kind of, you know, pulling some strings, and I didn't really have any contacts, but you kind of, you know, lay a case out and ask, and try and find the best way to ask and find the best way to word it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, interviewing Paul Hirsch was an incredible thing, really, really cool. I was super nervous for that. It's like, I'm recording this for my YouTube channel, and I messed up right at the beginning, and I said, this guy who was edited, and he said, that's where you need a good editor, and you know, he made a very good joke, and I left that awkward moment in the final video, but that's been something that, and I don't want to pursue interviewing people, but it was cool and a different experience. I like having different experiences. So yeah, this is so where'd that come from? So many things, so many videos, so little time in which to talk about them, and yet I will find the time to release a video as ridiculously long as this one. So thank you if you have watched this far. You know, again, I'm just repeating myself, but there's been good times, there's been bad times. It was the best of times, it was the blurst of times, and you know, there've been really, you know, with the bad things, there are the good things that really outweigh them, you know, and for every really shitty thing that happens, something really nice happened, pretty much. It evens itself pretty evenly and weighs a bit more towards the good, I think, which keeps you going. And there's been some things that have happened, you know, off camera that have been pretty horrible, and there have been some things that have happened off camera that are incredible. You know, there's one particular act of generosity that you know, I won't go into because the person doesn't want me to. You know who you are if you're watching this. That still staggers me that happened, and again, it kind of restores your faith in people a bit. That you know, there are people out there who are nice and generous and kind and supportive as well. That's a big thing, you know, like Daisuke giving me encouragement on my first day of my new job, and so many other things from conversations I've had with people like Ryan Chataway and with CP and so many other people. But you know, I look at this whole YouTube life similarly to my wrestling life, because my wrestling life was, you know, this really unique thing that has left me with friends for life. Friends that I probably won't, you know, hang out with all the time, and we don't talk all the time, but there's a bond that you have through the thing that you do that stays around. It sticks around, and when you see them again after many years, I went to London in 2019 for a reunion with all the wrestling guys, and it was like that 10 years hadn't even passed. You just slipped right back into the old jokes and the old kind of, you know, banter, and it was really nice. It was really, really cool to see that connection was still there between all of us. And with my YouTube life, it feels similar in that, you know, with the wrestling, you know, I did stupid things, I hurt my body, I'm paying for it now, I'll pay for it in the future. But I don't regret it because I've got those friends, and would I want to do without those friends? No, I wouldn't. All those experiences either, that are so, you know, I'm so grateful to have them. With the YouTube life, you know, without YouTube I wouldn't have Connie, and that is my life, you know. And that is the most valuable thing in the world to me. So there's that. But with my YouTube life as a presenter on YouTube and all the friends that I've made, the experiences that I've had, you know, yeah, I could have spent all this creative energy into writing a book or trying to get into the film industry. And maybe my life would be more fulfilling. Who knows? But you know, that hasn't happened. So why bother thinking about it? And I also wouldn't have all those experiences. I wouldn't have all those friends, and that is, you know, that's invaluable. So yeah, YouTube's been pretty good to me overall, and I've talked myself hoarse about it at this point, but it felt like a good thing to do for the 10-year anniversary. And there are things that I wanted to do. I wanted to do a look back in terms of like a compilation video that has like clips from like every year. And I've edited the first one, 2011. It's going to be one big long compilation, so I was going year by year. I did the first year of my channel, and it was about 40 minutes long. So it would potentially be like, what, staggering in length, which, you know, is nothing new for me, but it's going to take a long time to put that together. So I hope to do that. Maybe I'll do a cut down version for people who haven't got all the time in the world, but that'll be coming maybe in May or June, I don't know. It's taken a while to archive everything. I wanted to get it up for today, honestly, but hopefully this will be enough to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, an epic look back, just me talking about it, my YouTube story. Yeah, lots of memories. So many memories. I've forgotten things. Like I can find them and remember them through the YouTube videos. You know, like my YouTube story video from 2013 that I watched before making this. I was telling stories that I'd completely forgotten about, like the whole thing with the WWEDVDnews.com and the Hall of Fame. I would have remembered that if you put a gun to my head, but I've talked about it in a video 8 years ago, and now I have that knowledge to kind of pull. But at the same time, I certainly didn't watch everything. Again, I don't like watching my own videos. Sometimes they're interesting to listen to get a certain perspective and stuff. But, you know, there's just so much. Would I ever have the time to rewatch every video I've done? Probably not, because that's a staggering amount of videos, and I'd rather watch other people's videos. And that's something I feel guilty about as well. I don't have the time these days to watch all the people who I'm subscribed to. And, you know, you see the videos pop up in your time and you go, oh, I like him. I never have the time to watch his videos, bless him, that kind of thing, and you stay subscribed out of, you know, blind loyalty and because you like him and everything. But yeah, anyway, good friends, good times, bad times, you know, ups and downs. It's life. It's life. You know, if you do anything for long enough, it becomes like everything else. You get the good, you get the bad. You learn lessons along the way. The greatest teacher, failure, is. I'm glad that I have so many moments, like, you know, certain even trailer reaction videos. You look at one of my reaction videos for the Star Wars Episode 7 when I had the bug eyes and I'm like going all crazy, and it was my genuine reaction. There was nothing overplayed about that, and I don't know if I lost a potential YouTube friend over it, but it was someone whose videos I enjoyed, and I wanted to talk to him, and we fell out over that because he thought I was overperforming and being ridiculous, and I disagreed, and I made that clear, and then he blocked me, and that was it. It was done, you know, and that was a shame. Liked his videos, but you move on with these things. It's not, you can't dwell too much on things like that, and that's how life works. There's just people who rub each other the wrong way for whatever reason. But looking back on that reaction video now, I cringe, and I think, oh, it does look like I'm pretending, but I wasn't. It was so much like childhood joy seeping out of all my pores in that moment. I'm glad I have the video. I don't like watching it anymore, but you know, it's nice to see those things and see those things progress and see my reviews of the sequel trilogy as they went along with Star Wars, to see that video I filmed the moment I got out of The Last Jedi and how elated I was. I love that video because it just shows me the pure, unadulterated, unfiltered love of that film before anyone else in the world really saw it, because it came out earlier in Norway, before the whole world came crashing down on the Star Wars fandom for The Last Jedi. You just see me loving it as I loved it then, and as I love it even more now. So I like seeing, you know, the way my thoughts change on movies and how my thoughts don't change on movies, but seeing my initial reactions. That's really cool to see our thoughts, me and Connie sometimes, and different things. And I love that with the movie marathons, having me and her. And I like kind of getting other people involved, whether it's friends. Movie Marathon 9 is called Generations. You're going to see me and Connie watching a film and then talking about it with my nan. And then my sister comes over to watch a film with us. My brother comes over to watch a film with us. Me and 3 of my closest friends from wrestling did a kind of viewing of a movie and talked about it. So I like doing that and kind of bringing parts of my life together in the movie marathons and in all of my videos really. But the movie marathons are like the big projects that I like making a big deal out of, big fuss out of. Maybe too much, but it's fun, it's enjoyable for me. And I'm just kind of trailing off at this point. But yeah, you know, there's always ideas, and I have 15 different series I'd love to do, but don't have the time to do. And so you just do what you can. and enjoy it. So any advice? Oh, I don't know if I should give advice. That's a whole other video. But you know, consistency is fun. It's nice if you just stay consistent. Then you can look back and say, oh, look at that progression, or look at that up and down, and the peaks and the valleys and all that stuff. And it's interesting. I don't know. I find that it depends what kind of person you are, because I like looking back and seeing how you were before and how you've changed now, and it's kind of fascinating to see how life develops, how you develop as a person, how you make mistakes, how you learn from them, and everything else in between. And yeah, so it's, yeah, there's just so many things have changed. I've become a big fan of certain things. Twin Peaks has become a huge obsession. That was one thing that really bonded me and Sean's Aaron Isaac, and then the world of Fortnite, where I play with him on Twitch, or he streams it to Twitch and I play with him through the PlayStation, and that's brought us closer together as friends. And it's just one of those random things that you never would have expected. You know, so I just happened to be watching one of his Twitch streams. He's playing Fortnite, and I'm like, oh, that game, like, yeah, bloody Fortnite. And you know, he's playing with other people, and I'm like, well, I've never really played a game with Sean before. Maybe I'll just download it and it'll be fun just to play with him. And then suddenly I really enjoyed the game, and now we've got this thing, and you know, it brings us closer together, and you know, that's really valuable to me. So I have a handful of really great friends who I love, and I'm so grateful I've met through YouTube. And then of course there's Connie, who's just like, you know, the absolute pinnacle of my life, and you know, wouldn't have mattered without her putting a YouTube video up. And it gets me emotional sometimes when I think about it. It's like, what if she didn't decide to cover That I Would Be Good? What if my mum had never listened to Alanis Morissette when I was a kid, and I wouldn't have gotten into her music, and I didn't like that song? So, you know, there's two things there. You know, if Connie hadn't put up the cover, I would never have met her. My life would not be the way it is now. It'd be completely different, probably. Who knows where I'd be. Would I be happy? I'd like to think so, you know, but this, again, there's no point thinking about the what ifs, but, you know, I sometimes do, and I like thinking about the what ifs in the negative, and because then it makes me appreciate what I have, and that's important. And then if she had made the cover and I wasn't a fan of the music, I still wouldn't have. There's so many, like, random occurrences in life. And I remember talking to my friend about this Norwegian girl that I was speaking to, and I was going to meet her in London, and it was fucking crazy that it even happened. And within a couple of months, we were meeting up from different countries. I go from Wales to London, to England. She goes from Norway to England, and you know, out of that comes so much, and so much wouldn't exist if we hadn't met. You know, and that's our life together, and it's very precious to me, and that came from YouTube. So it's not all bad. Thank you for watching. Sincerely. Hope you've enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you in the next one, I guess. There's a thing I could talk about, like the whole, the end title. Sorry, that was a good way to end it. I thought that was a good strong ending, a nice poignant little thing at the end. But you know, I could talk about the end titles and that song that people ask me about all the time, and how I've used different sections of it throughout the past 10 years. There's been so many different little bits and pieces and Easter eggs, and oh, it seems like the audio program is glitching. Maybe I should have taken my cue. I should have gone home when I was supposed to. Thank you for watching. There's simply just too much to discuss. Thank you for watching, truly. Don't know why I'm doing this. And I'll see you in the next one. 10 years, holy shit. Now hopefully that audio saved, because what the fuck happened there? Don't glitch on me. Okay, so I began this video with an additional clip, and I'm going to end it with an addendum here. This is the morning after, so I'm filming this on the 23rd of April, the official 10-year anniversary. You know what I'm like, if I make a really long video, it usually has more endings than The Return of the King. So I'm just going to own that and roll with it, because there are two things I wanted to add into this video. There are probably more that I've forgotten in terms of, I don't know, videos that I've made that I wanted to mention and stuff. And I briefly considered making like almost like a top 10 video. Not like, you know, here are my top 10 best videos, but the videos that I would like you to watch. You know, if you were to say what videos are you really proud of or you thought were really good, Because again, I've been doing this for 10 years and I know that it takes a long time to scroll through the whole back catalogue. So there are many people who are new to my channel who probably haven't seen a whole lot of stuff that I think they might enjoy. But I don't know whether I should do that. It might be a bit, I don't know, a bit unsavory to make it. Here's my top 10 videos you should check out. But one thing I did want to mention, and there are two things really. One of them is a person who I met through YouTube that I want to kind of name check, and another is a series that I did, and my voice is already going because I was speaking for so long last night, I guess. The video, or the series of videos, was Michael Keaton month, which I did in October of, I think it was October of 2013. And that was like the big thing for me. Well, I mean, I guess in 2013 the second 24-hour movie marathon was a big deal, but the real like massive project was Michael Keaton month. He's my favorite actor. I thought, you know what, I'd like to see every film that he's done, every acting performance that he's put onto film, I'd like to watch and review. So I went really deep on that. I like reviewed films that he was only in for a couple of seconds, you know, whether it's a brief cameo or something else. And for 31 days, there was a video every single day on the channel, and sometimes multiple movies, like double bill reviews. I watched everything he'd ever done. There's one exception. There was like a TV series that I couldn't get around to seeing, but as far as theatrically released films, up until 2013, I watched everything. And it's really funny because it was right before the kind of renaissance of his career. I mean, he was still working and acting around that time, but it was like independent films that were getting, you know, straight to DVD and Blu-ray releases, like was it Penthouse North? There was this one film where it's like this woman who went blind, and she's in this apartment block, and he's there, and he's kind of keeping her hostage, and it's got like 3 different names. Like whenever it's been released in a different country, it's got a different name. But I think Penthouse North was the one that I saw. And then his film that he directed, The Merry Gentleman. So films that people don't really talk about or ever seen, really. It's very under the radar stuff. And then literally the year after I made that series, this big celebration of this actor that I loved, you know, he came out with Birdman and then Spotlight, and it just seemed to, a resurgence of his career came out of, you know, the following years that I made that series. I'd still like to go back and do a couple of, like, you know, kind of continue to kind of pick all the films he's done over the past 8 years and then, like, have a complete review of all of his filmography and keep that up to date and call it, I think, Michael Keaton Month Extra. Something like that would be cool. But, you know, regardless, that was something that, you know, I put a lot of time into. There's nice little intros and outros. There's clips and audio clips from his films, and there's just lots of stuff that I really enjoyed going really deep with in terms of the editing, because I had the time to. You know, I had no job at that time. And seeing all of his films was fantastic, because there wasn't one I didn't enjoy really, except for some of the early ones, and especially Rabbit Test, which is still the worst film I have ever seen, and he is only in it for about 2 seconds, and it's a non-speaking role. I didn't realize that when I watched the film. So I think my Rabbit Test review is rather popular in terms of actually no, there's my Rabbit Test review on Letterboxd. Got a bit of attention because it was featured in someone's video. I can't remember who it was now, but I kept getting people saying, "Was that your Letterboxd review in this guy's video?" But there was, you know, the Rabbit Test video review was something where I got very heated, and that has been something over the years as well. I can say is that I've had a few videos where I've really ranted against a film. I really try not to do it, but it has happened. The two that really stick out in my mind are In the Realm of the Senses and Silo, and I hated those films with a passion. And I feel like I had a reason to have a real distaste for them, and I got so much backlash from that, and a lot of really nasty messages, a lot of really arsey comments, and I think the In the Realm of the Senses video is my most viewed video of my entire channel, which is crazy to think really, but yeah, so there's been a few times where I've just let loose and just done a full-on rant on a film. I try not to do that. But anyway, the Michael Keaton month, when I first released those videos, I thought, like, I'm putting so much time into this, I'm really happy with the videos, and people weren't really watching them. But I was still fine with that because I was getting personal satisfaction out of making the series. But as the years went on, I'd see some of those videos are getting thousands of views, because who's really reviewing that one film he made in 2000, you know? And so there's not many people, you know, are making videos about those films. And so it's nice actually when you see that, oh, there's people who watch and enjoy that film, and they're obviously watching my reviews, and it's nice that they're all there. But I'd like to go back to that at some point and maybe do some kind of extra bonus videos and cover the films he's done since then, because he's done a lot of pretty good films in, especially stuff like Birdman. And it's just nice to see him kind of have a resurgence and people to really remember how good he was. He's still my favourite actor, and seeing every film that he made, I think it's a really good thing to do if you have a favourite actor, is watch everything they've done. You see the progression, and I went chronologically from the beginning to, you know, present day at that time. And so it was really rewarding. And then you have the Porco Rosso story, which, you know, it was this mystery in my life, this animated film I saw when I was a kid with my grandp, and I saw a bit of it, about maybe 30 minutes of the ending, and they were swearing in the movie, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's this incredible memory that I have with my grandp, who I loved more than anything. He was my favourite person in the world when I was a kid, and he died when I was, I think, 13, 14. So it's this kind of like, it was just this kind of itch that I needed to scratch, but there was no way to scratch it because I had no idea what this film was, and I could never, and for years I tried to find out what it was. And so I'm doing the Michael Keaton month, I'm researching everything he's ever done, and I find that he did the voice for an English dub by Disney in 2003 for a film called Porco Rosso, released in 1992 in Japan. And I read the synopsis, you know, a humanoid pig who's a kind of bounty hunter air pilot, and I thought, holy shit, that's what the guy looked like in the film. He's like a fat, ugly pig flying a plane. Is this the movie? And I watched it, and it was this amazing discovery, this mystery of my life, this film mystery that was solved. Even if I didn't like the film, it would have been memorable for that, but then I loved the film. It then became one of my favourite films of all time. That then got me to watch more films by Hayao Miyazaki. He became one of my favourite directors of all time. Studio Ghibli was a discovery. More anime was a discovery, watching the works of Satoshi Kon and seeing the Ghost in the Shell movies, and there's just, you know, just all this stuff snowballs, and that all came from doing the Michael Keaton month unexpectedly. So I love all those little discoveries, and seeing that film Porco Rosso, and just going, my God, this was the film I saw when I was a kid, and now I'm seeing it in full for the first time. But the Disney version didn't have the swearing, so I had to do a lot of digging and eventually find the streamlined dub, which I would have seen when I was a kid. It's essentially just him saying, "You bastard." But it just seemed like, what the, someone said "you bastard" in a cartoon. It was mental to me as a kid. So there's that, Michael Keaton month. And last but not least, I just had to mention very briefly Claire, who I believe went by Lunaria Claire at the beginning. I mean, she doesn't have a YouTube channel now. She hasn't for many years. But it was back in 2013. I think, I'm not sure who found who first, but we got talking around that time, and I was doing my Road to Episode 7 series, and she saw one of them. We got talking, a huge love of Star Wars shared between us, and of Mark Hamill and the Luke Skywalker character. And so we got talking and, you know, became friends quite quickly. And, you know, sometimes that happens, you know, when you meet someone online and they share the same interest, and you're like, oh yeah, and you start talking and sharing stories and stuff, and then it fizzles out very quickly. And then she left YouTube, you know, indefinitely. But she's someone who I've always kept up with. You know, we talk, you know, pretty much every week, I'd say. There's always just something that we know that's of a common interest between us, whether it's Star Wars or Rush or anything really. Just keeping up with each other in terms of, you know, how our personal lives are going. And she's just a really good friend who is, you know, it's one of those things that just has stayed constant. You know, it's about 8 years now of talking constantly. And so you get people like Chris, CM42 TV, and Ryan Chataway, just those people who you can always talk to, and just really nice, lasting, worthwhile friendships. And so I had to mention Claire, even though, you know, it seems like a lifetime ago that she even made videos. Really, it's just one of those things. But it's nice that we still keep in touch through Facebook and stuff. And one of the things that has been great with me and Claire is the whole release of the sequel trilogy and all the new Star Wars films that have come out, because we're such big Star Wars nerds that you know, we became friends just before, you know, that real buzz and push towards The Force Awakens coming out. And even when she had stopped kind of making videos, she would do a couple of trailer reactions, you know, privately, and show me the video so I could see what she thought of the new trailers for all the films. And, you know, we would be like, you know, when are you going to see it? When are you going to see episode 7? When are you going to see episode 8? And we'd be like waiting with bated breath on what the other one thought of the film. You know, I'll never forget The Last Jedi in particular. I was so excited for that one. And she was going to see it before me. Episode 7 we saw like right around the same time, I think. But episode 8, she saw it before me. She went to like a pre-release screening, really fancy. And I was waiting, like, you know, don't tell me what you thought of it, I don't want to know anything, you know. And then she saw it, and I was like, well, what did you think about it? And she was like, I'll never forget this, burned into my brain. She just replied, just 3 words, it was good. And my heart just dropped. It was good? That's it? Come on. But of course, she was overwhelmed by it, especially with the death of Luke, who's like, that's her favourite character. I think it's her favourite character. I think it's safe to say that. We both have an obsession with Luke and Mark Hamill in general, I think. Maybe an unhealthy obsession. We love that guy and that character. But yeah, so that's been a big part of my sequel trilogy journey, has been Claire, and always, you know, keeping up with what we thought of the new films and stuff. And that's one of the many reasons the internet is a good place, you know, to kind of counter the many reasons, the multiple reasons it's a bad place, is the way you can connect with people. And that's kind of what YouTube is as well, connecting with people in both good ways and bad ways. And I choose to focus as much as I can on the good. I'll leave it there. This is really the end. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Really nice guy, he looks after his friends. He only chucks them about the place a couple of times on the weekend. Yeah, he's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, cause you throw your cans into the recycling centre.
Throw your rubbish away, other people do.
The question is he going to jump in the hedge? Is he going to jump in the hedge and get that fucking can of Carlin out from the hedge? Is he going to do it? Is he fat? So you might say he's a really nice guy, really. But if fucking don't cut shit with me. He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really.